Chapter 026. As soon as Uehara Shimei finished speaking, there was a thump and a figure couldn't wait to fall to the ground. He shouted in a voice that was almost trembling with excitement. Konoha Jonin Namifang Minato, see Hokage-sama, and I am willing to follow you from now on and never regret it. As Shimei Uehara's classmate, friend and best friend, he is one of the few loyal subordinates whose bond has reached 100% a long time ago. He had already been prepared to offer advice at the critical moment. But at this moment, every move, every sentence, every word, all come from the heart and come out spontaneously. There is no reluctance or deliberateness at all. After seeing such majestic and magnificent thoughts and aspirations, it is difficult for even a complete stranger to remain indifferent, let alone him. And as Namikaze Minato's voice fell, several other voices sounded almost at the same time. Hatake Mashuwa, willing to follow. Before entering this secret room, Konoha White Fang was still walking like a zombie and had lost his soul. At this moment, it seemed like a sharp blade unsheathed, so sharp that it was impossible to look directly at it. This true believer in the will of fire, who wanted to collapse because he was betrayed and abandoned by the top management, recast his faith and became stronger than before. As a teacher, it is natural to support the ideals of your disciples. I, Jiraiya, recognize you as the fourth Hokage of Konoha. Jiraiya's eyes sparkled with crystal tears. To him, nothing was more gratifying than seeing the real hope of peace. All words and sentences cannot describe the joy I feel at this moment. The decision to risk his life and his ability to endure was indeed cruel, but fortunately, he made the right bet. As a disciple, it is natural to support the teacher's ideals. Hatake Kakashi will follow him to the death. The little carrot head, who has not yet graduated from the ninja school, has been staring at his father. After seeing White Fang start to shine again, he also followed suit and looked cool. Uehara-kun, you are far more generous than I thought before. As a fellow Taoist, I also want to witness what a truly immortal career looks like. Looking forward to your future, dear fourth generation. As one of the few wise men who have not been completely brainwashed, and who have some awareness of someone's plot, not only did Orochimaru have no intention of exposing it, but he took the initiative to add fuel to the fire with great interest. After Sarutobi Hiruzen was imprisoned, the bet made by this former Hokage disciple who was most likely to succeed the Hokage really strengthened the confidence of many people. Ha ha ha, this is the true passion of youth. I have found a new direction of struggle, which is to unleash all my will and passion for Lord Hokage. Matt Dai's eyes were filled with tears, and his expression was extremely excited. As more and more people join in, some even though they were not very optimistic in their hearts or were still dissatisfied with Uehara Shimei's killing of third generation, they had no choice but to kneel down in line with the current situation. Not only because everyone who comes here has already established a certain degree of bond with Uehara Shimei. All it takes to truly surrender is just a reason. It was also because the people gathered outside this secret room, plus the forces they represented behind them, almost encompassed more than 70% of the power of Konoha. To be recognized by so many people, it is almost self-evident who Konoha will be in the future. It can be said that those who are not smart will be fooled directly, while those who are smart will not make themselves unhappy. Everything had been settled long before they entered the secret room behind them, and watching everyone except a certain Tsundere monster, convinced and surrendered to Uehara Shimei. On the scroll, the barrage instantly ushered in a spectacular climax. Although this is Tsunade's comparison video, someone who appears too frequently has become the real protagonist. The two countless spectators in the ninja world were like reading a wonderful novel, from Uehara Mitsukoshi's analysis of the prophecy of the Mount Myaboku Great Toad Sage to his own understanding of peace and the path to achieving it. At this moment, he is recognized by everyone and is about to become the fourth Hokage that everyone is paying attention to. He has officially begun to influence and lead the world. It can be said that the pace is brisk, the highlights are dense, and the plot is full of climaxes. The key point is that it is also thought-provoking and gave them a huge shock. As the plot twists and turns and progresses, they have completely immersed themselves in it. I feel sad because of Uehara Shimei's sadness, and I feel happy because of Uehara Shimei's happiness. Now, when the first half of the story reached its climax and successfully ushered in a nearly perfect ending, everyone felt as if they had eaten a piece of cool iced watermelon in the dog days of summer, so refreshing that even their souls were trembling. Countless comments came rushing in an instant, squeezing the scroll several times larger. Among them, more than half of the people were praising Uehara Shimei, praising him in all directions without any blind spots. Occasionally, a few people expressed different opinions. such as Ninja World Saratobi Hiruzen, Ghost. This must be a conspiracy. It's impossible for him to gain recognition from so many people in such a short time. He must have planned it all along. It was soon drowned in countless drops of saliva. Well, the rest of the people are criticizing F4. The emotions are a bit agitated, and the words are a bit disgusting. Netizens were overwhelmed by the climax of the plot. Current Ninja World, above the leaves, Uehara Siming's mood was also quite beautiful, because in his mind, a series of system prompts were ringing. Congratulations, host. You have successfully established a bond with the original Ninja World Tsunade. The current bond degree is 20%, and you will be rewarded with a Super Sage Body Development degree plus 10%, current Immortal Body Development, Super 75%, Sage level, Basic is first generation, Super is Sage of 6 paths, Ultimate is the ultimate evolution. Congratulations, host. You have successfully established a bond with Uchiha Sasuke of the original Ninja World. The current bond degree is 20%. You will be rewarded with Style Advanced Nature Change and the development degree of creating something out of nothing plus 5%, current development degree of creating something out of nothing, 94%. Congratulations, host. You have successfully established a bond with the original Ninja World Hatake Kakashi. The current bond degree is 44%. Reward, Chakra Limit plus 5 cards, 20% stage reward. Lightning Style Special Property Change Purple Lightning, 40% stage reward. Current Chakra Total, Upper Limit, 1234 cards, Purple Lightning. Lightning Styles Special Properties Change, Strengthening Lightning Styles Cutting Ability. Listening to the news that came out one after another, Uehara Siming had to work hard not to laugh out loud on the spot. In order to be recognized by the system, that is, to generate a reward bond, the target person's potential evaluation must be at least A level or even above. After such a long time, he has almost completely fleeced all the wool in the ninja world, and there is nothing left to fleece. Ordinary moves can be improved through practice, but some special abilities are not even possessed by the ninja world and can only be obtained through system rewards. Although he has long been invincible in the ninja world, who would object to having higher strength? Besides, the threat of Otsutsuki is still there, and no one knows how powerful the legendary god Otsutsuki is, so it is definitely not the time to lie down. The appearance of this comparison video brought him a whole new ninja world, and he could establish 2 bonds with the same character. You don't even have to do it yourself. As the video plays, you can pretend to be cool and the bond will be automatically connected. This is so cool. Chapter 027. His gaze returned to the painting again. After receiving affirmative responses from everyone, Uehara Siming put away the sword on his knees, slowly stood up, faced everyone, and a hearty smile appeared on his face. Even if it had been anticipated, even if it had been analyzed and calculated dozens of times beforehand, even if there were countless evens, at this moment, he couldn't help but feel a sense of heroism in his heart. 13 years, from the time he accidentally met a genin named Might Die on the street to the moment he finally succeeded in becoming Hokage, 12 years had passed. Perhaps some people would think that Uehara Siming's idea of planning today's events started when Hatake Mosaku was humiliated. Smarter people might guess that it started when he became Jiraiya's apprentice. But only he himself knew that it started with the successful establishment of the first bond. That year, he was only 5 years old. The word power is very simple when you say it simply, but it is also extremely complex when you say it simply. It is simple because its essence is nothing more than making others obey you. As long as you can successfully dominate another person, whether it is a person or a thing, you have power over it. But what is complicated is how to make others obey your control. Economic interests, moral principles, and ideal pursuits can all achieve this. Among them, righteousness represents the social nature of human beings, that is, the need for emotion and belonging. It is occupied by the current high-ranking officials, those who hold the title of Hokage and represent the justice of the current stage. Economic interests represent human biological nature, that is, material and energy needs. Unfortunately, this important way and tool to maintain status is also firmly controlled by the current top leaders. Zhuizhuan said, only names and tools cannot be lent to others. Name refers to righteousness and status, also known as morality, which the ancients attached great importance to. The weapon refers to the sword, which represents strength. F4 has never heard of this sentence, but they definitely understand similar principles, which is why others cannot beat them. The only choice Uehara Siming had was the third point, the pursuit of his ideal. When people have satisfied their physiological needs, safety needs, emotional needs, and respect needs, The highest level of pursuit is the need for self-actualization. And this is exactly the worst thing that Sarutobi Hiruzen did. If his will of fire, which was full of loopholes, had been used in his previous life, it would probably only have been able to fool a few elementary school students, because the junior high school curriculum already had the basic secrets of dragon slaying. After realizing this, Uehara Siming knew his ideal in life, which is the hidden theme throughout the entire Hokage, world peace. Peace was never his goal but his tool. For 13 years, someone has been deliberately poaching people. The future famous strong men of Konoha, including some potential stocks with great potential but not yet truly demonstrated, almost all of them were included in his range of options for establishing bonds. The previous generation includes Sannin, Hatake Shikisaku, Mariboshi Kosuka, Might Dai, Uchiha 8th generation. The same age are Nara Shikako, Akamichi Choza, Yamanaka Hai, Namikaze Minato, Hyuga Yari, Yakushi Nono, Uzumaki Kushina, Uchiha Mikoto. The younger ones include Aburame Jiwei, Yuhi Kurinai, Hatake Kakashi, Might Guy, etc. Although not everyone's bond has reached 100%, they are completely convinced of him. But at least, most people have a good impression of me. Unknowingly and quietly, Uehara Siming had already completed the strategic layout of surrounding the cities from the countryside. And when he has the rights to these important characters, in a sense, he is actually no different from the Hokage. Today, it is just a concentrated strengthening of everyone's bond, plus temporary realization. The next step is to take the real name and weapon into your own hands. However, before that, there is still a little trouble that needs to be dealt with first. Shimei Uehara moved his steps, his clogs making a crisp sound when they collided with the ground, and he arrived in front of the only person still standing in a few steps. Tsunade crossed her arms and looked sideways with an expression full of stubbornness. However, her attempt to show that she didn't care at all made someone extremely convinced that she cared. Question: what should I do when faced with a dead tsundere? Correct answer: go up A. No matter what, just go up A and smash her disguise. Tsunade: you neither kill me nor kneel to me. But why? My legs are on my body, and my hands are on my body. I won't kill or kneel down. What can you do to me? Humph. Tsunade said, with a hint of pride in the corner of her mouth. She admitted that she was impressed by Shimei Uehara's ambition. His strong personality charm made even her heart beat. The most important thing is, this guy has been subtly instilling in himself how incompetent and rubbish Sarutobi Hiruzen and his F4 are a long time ago. Although it was a bit sudden, it was not difficult to understand. However, considering that she was still shouting and killing with a face full of rage before, she bowed her head in an instant, which was really not in line with her Tsunadeheim style. Besides, if she surrenders so easily, where is the face of the majestic Princess Konoha? Where is her dignity? Anyway, as long as he doesn't take the initiative to admit it, there is nothing he can do. You can't find a ninja from Yamanaka to read the memory, right? Yeah. Uehara Shimei smiled faintly and made an action that made everyone's jaws drop. He leaned forward slightly and pressed directly on Tsunade's lips. With a light touch, he immediately pulled away without hesitation, leaving behind a figure running away in a hurry. Tsunade's proud expression froze in an instant, her beautiful eyes rounded up, and she was completely stunned. By the time he realized what had happened, the murderer had disappeared without a trace. F***K. It's awesome. This is the 7th time today that I've said it's awesome. It's really awesome. Isn't he afraid of being beaten to death? I'm done with my studies. I'll try to find the one I like later. Lord Hokage, bless me. I hope she won't be too cruel. The following should be the scene that everyone likes to see the most, right? Haha. Uehara-kun, take care. Only when you are infinitely close to death can you truly understand the true meaning of life. Let's not talk about anything else. Master Hokage is definitely the most courageous person in history. Everyone has courage. He has a lot of courage. I would like to ask, does this really work? Why do I feel so cold on my back? The above is useful. I believe it will definitely be useful. What if I am not beaten to death by then? What if Chapter 028. Shimei Uehara's sudden movement not only shocked Tsunade, but also everyone else around him was stunned for a moment. No one expected that he would ignore martial ethics and conduct a sneak attack, and in this way, he would directly avoid everyone's waste. However, people like Namikaze Minato, Hatake Shikisaku, Nara Shikaku, after reacting, they immediately looked at their nose and heart, lowered their heads and studied the pattern on the floor under their feet. Uzumaki Kushina pouted, looking a little unhappy, but she didn't make a sound. After all, A certain person has never concealed his hobbies. After seeing it more and more, he will gradually get used to it and become immune. Only Jiraiya's eyes suddenly turned into white circles. While he stretched out one hand and pointed at the passage where Uehara Shimei disappeared, he couldn't help but tremble, and on the other hand, he opened his mouth wide and screamed strangely. Oh! The exaggerated expressions and movements make it difficult for people not to notice. However, the next moment he made a sound. His whole body suddenly rose into the air, and with a bang, he stuck to the wall behind him in the shape of a big letter, and then slowly slid to the ground and fainted. It's all your fault, you old pervert with a mind full of pornographic waste, for ruining the Uehara religion, huh? Tsunade's fists clenched loudly, and her expression became extremely unkind. It doesn't seem to be any different from usual. Only she herself knew how violent her heartbeat was at this moment. If chakra hadn't been used to suppress the abnormal reaction in his body, Shafei's cheeks would have turned rosy by now. On the side, when others heard Tsunade's voice, the corners of their mouths twitched crazily. Even on the barrage, there was some silence for a while. For someone like Shimei Uehara, who threatened to marry 20 wives at the age of 7, why did he need to be taught a bad lesson by others? Even many ninjas from other ninja villages are familiar with his famous name and romantic deeds. Although the ninja world is not completely monogamous, those who marry multiple wives are basically daimyo or nobles. This situation is extremely rare. Not only are excellent kunoichi rare, but very few people are willing to work with her. Also, as a tool and weapon, ninjas are all about restraining desires and practicing the way of ninja. Even food and drink must be restrained, let alone other bad habits. Even some ninja villages and organizations will deprive their genin of their self. Similar to Shimei Uehara, who doesn't take the rules seriously at all and goes his own way, he is indeed a scorpion daddy, with his own share of poison. Also, when the barrage was blasting, poor Jiraiya, there was a transition on the screen and the video entered the next stage. In the early morning, when it was still dark, a sneaky figure suddenly slipped out of the main entrance of Konoha and then started walking quickly. Not long after, seeing that they were far away from the detection range of the big barriers and patrol guards, Tsunade stopped running, released the transformation technique, and let out a sigh of relief. The next moment, his nervous expression changed to a carefree expression, and he began to walk leisurely and slowly in the forest. I was still in the mood to pick a wild flower on the roadside, hold it in front of my mouth and nose, and smell it. However, at this moment, I didn't know what I discovered, and my relaxed and content expression just now suddenly became stiff. I saw two figures, one large and one small, standing at the end of the road. The taller one had his hands in his trouser pockets, his back to Tsunade, and his handsome godlike robe was fluttering gently in the breeze. The 5 golden characters, 4th Hokage, on it are arrogant and domineering, full of strong Uehara characteristics. The shorter one was a little girl, holding a large package in her hand and looking around nervously. Coming. After the little girl screamed, Shimei Uehara turned around with a smile on his face. With a tap of his toes, he appeared in front of someone who was obviously very embarrassed but still wanted to act stubborn. I suddenly couldn't sleep. I just came out to get some fresh air, Tsunade said. It's okay. Uehara Shimei smiled faintly when he heard this, showing a completely different tenderness from usual. At this moment, he was like the rising sun, bringing comfortable warmth to people, but not dazzling or excessively hot at all. As he said this, he took the package from the little girl who caught up behind him and took out the items one by one. The black scroll records an S-class long-term investigation mission with Hokage's seal and signature on it. When something happens, you can use this to dispatch and assign nearby Konoha ninjas. You can take a look when you have time, but if you don't have time, just don't have time. What is sealed in the white scroll is the flower wine I brewed myself. There are 3 types in total, 10 jars of each. Osmanthus wine has a soft taste, elegant and mellow aroma, and a long aftertaste with a hint of sweetness. The temperature is not high, so when you are in a good mood, you can choose a place with a great view to enjoy it slowly. The rose wine is made from water from a cold spring, which has a chilly and murderous aura, but if you drink it, it will be like burning your body in flames. It is a combination of ice and fire. If you encounter something unpleasant, you will get drunk quickly. Peach blossom wine is somewhere between the two, sweet and fragrant, neither bland nor too strong. When the weather is hot, you can keep it ice cold and the cold wind will blow you away, or you can immerse the wine bottle in hot water and scald it before use. And this bracelet, I made it according to your preference, made of 12 special dice and a jade pendant. There are a large number of sealing runes engraved on the open side of the dice, each of which has a different function and can be activated by injecting chakra. As for this pendant, it is a sealed space. Although it is not large, it is enough to store some emergency items. It is also my symbol of the flying thunder god. I can sense it by wrapping it in chakra. I will always be there whenever I need it. This is the seasoning I developed. Save it if you use it outside. You can't buy it elsewhere. These are called high heels, and these are a special kind of pants, which I call stockings. There are also corresponding shorts and tops, which add up to a set. It's not of much use, I just think it will look good on you. I originally wanted to wait until your birthday to give it to you, but now it seems I can't wait. Uehara Shimei, like a treasured boy, took out more than 10 items from the package one after another. Tsunade's eyes flickered, and she hesitated to speak several times. She always felt that Uehara Shimei was a little weird today. She didn't know what was wrong, but it was just something that couldn't be explained. It was as if something bad was happening somewhere. A few minutes passed, and I saw Shimei Uehara still taking out things. Tsunade quickly reached out to stop him. Okay, I'm just going out for a walk. I'm not going to die. Why do I suddenly act like an old woman? It's really not your style. However, what she never expected was that as soon as he reached out his hand, Uehara Shimei's gentle and warm smile suddenly became a little far-fetched. It's like you can't laugh at all, but you have to force yourself to laugh. In his eyes, there were 2 lines of tears falling down at once. Although it was quickly erased, the keen insight of an S-class ninja was still clearly noticed. Tsunade, who was slightly impatient just now, suddenly became panicked. No, isn't it? Crying? In her impression, Shimei Uehara showed extraordinary wisdom very early on, and he seemed extremely mature at a young age. There is almost no trace of the childishness and innocence of an ordinary child in him. No matter what happens, there is always a reason of his own, and it is often unexpected. Even on topics like world peace, you can come up with your own set of opinions. This was the first time that I saw something as rare as tears on his face. In an instant, Tsunade was stunned. She was surprised and at the same time at a loss for a while. However, the Konoha princess is not a comforting person, so she can only stand aside and worry. Uehara Shimei, on the other hand, still wanted to be a normal person and showed a warm smile again and said, "By the way, this child's name is Kato Shizune. She is the niece of the late Jonin Kato Dan and one of the few orphans of the Kato clan. I've tested it. Medical ninjutsu's talent is very high. Take it with you as a follower. With your personality, if there is no suitable person to take care of trivial matters outside, it will be very difficult." After finishing speaking, Uehara Shimei smiled heartily again. Without any hesitation, he directly launched the teleportation technique and flew toward Konoha seemingly fast but actually slowly. Chapter 029. Shimei Uehara's cry not only broke Tsunade's psychology, but also below the scroll, countless spectators were also stunned. A certain person's consistent style and image has always been known for being domineering, forceful, and unquestionable. Due to his strength, few people can make him suffer setbacks. Therefore, when they saw Uehara Shimei in the video, he was already in tears, but he still had to hold back his sadness and make a gentle smile. Their eyes widened one after another, their faces full of disbelief. Is this the Hokage-sama who is possessed by Li Yunlong at every turn and keeps saying lousy, F***ku, and UF***ck? However, after being shocked, my next reaction was intense heartache. It was as if my heart was held tightly by a big hand, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. Let a man be so overbearing and have such a tyrannical personality that even the Hokage dared to kill him openly and quickly, and after killing him, he could still stand in front of the Hokage building with his head and smoke a cigarette. He was so pretentious that he even shed tears. How sad and tragic that must be. What happened to make that steely and powerful being react like this? Many things require comparison. If other people make this expression, there is a high probability that they will receive a girly comment. But when someone like Shimei Uehara appears, the feeling suddenly changes. Many people even began to speak rudely to Tsunade in the barrage because of this, thinking that this ignorant woman was somewhat ungrateful. Even the bystanders were so heartbroken, and Tsunade, as a person involved, naturally felt even more profoundly. To put it bluntly, she even had a strong impulse in her heart at the moment. Don't worry about anything, stay regardless of everything. Hug Uehara Shimei tightly, and give him everything he wants. Isn't it just that there are too many wives? There are many such nobles in the capital of the Fire Country, etc. Tsunade suddenly spoke. Then, in Uehara Shiming's confused eyes, a shining smile appeared. Then, he formed a seal with his hands, and a light green chakra wrapped around the special clothes in the silent package. The next moment, the green light flashed slightly. The large green robe and black ninja pants that Tsunade was originally wearing slowly fell to the ground. Instead, there are ultra-short, black stockings, high heels, and midriff-bearing short sleeves. A complete set of clothing designed and manufactured under the supervision of Shimei Uehara himself. Does it look good? Tsunade opened her hands and spun in a circle on her toes. There was a bright smile on her cheeks, and at some point, there was a hint of just the right amount of rosiness. At this moment, Tsunade was truly stunningly beautiful. Not just the perfect figure, appearance, and custom-made clothes that fully highlight all your advantages. Also because of that flash of shyness on a woman's face that pleases her. This is the real big killer. Just like a ray of sunlight suddenly shining into the darkness, it was enough to make everyone's eyes brighten and never forget it again. Uehara Shimei was stunned when he saw it. His expression was dull, and his eyes were bright. Does it look good? Tsunade's slightly shy voice came. Uehara Shimei almost didn't hesitate at all. He ducked and came straight in front of Tsunade. He put his arms around Tsunade's waist tightly, then, he held the back of his head with his other hand and pressed his lips hard against it. This time, it wasn't a quick glance at the water, nor was it a matter of one touch. Taste freely, take whatever you want, without any scruples. I don't know how long it took. Maybe I felt that the person in my arms was about to get angry. Shimei Uehara burst into tears again and left with a decisive smile. Take care of yourself. I'm leaving. In the parts not shown in the video, Shimei Uehara left, as if possessed by Uncle Snake. Sticking out his tongue and licking his lips, there was only a strong sense of pride and some kind of intoxication in the aftertaste on his face, and there was no trace of sadness. He knew a long time ago, Tsunade is not an ordinary woman. Her identity, status, strength, and even her beauty and her achievements are far from ordinary. With so much capital to be proud of, one can imagine the pride in my heart. To win successfully is by no means a simple matter. Especially for Uehara Shimei, he already has many confidants such as Mikoto, Kushina, Hyugayari, etc., and his romantic reputation is far-reaching. It is even more difficult. Tsunade naturally had an instinctive resistance and even disgust towards him. Therefore, it is necessary to use strong materials and ruthless moves. The performance just now, the gift-giving, the accidental tears, the last abnormal behavior, and the sudden decisive smile. All just to leave a seed in her heart. This seed will take root and sprout until it breaks through the ground and grows into a towering tree, bearing abundant fruits. And this day will not be too far away. What? You just know how to take advantage of me. On the spot, Tsunade was stunned for a long time, and then she seemed a little dissatisfied and complained. But even if she was complaining, Tsunade's arrogance and enthusiasm were gone. Her voice was soft, and her tone was more like coquettishness. At this moment, Tsunade had an extremely bad feeling in her heart. There were signs of this premonition before, but it was never as clear as it is now. Uehara Shimei's smile in the last scene keeps replaying in my mind over and over again. She had seen many similar eyes and expressions before. During the Second Ninja War, many ninjas had the same expression when they were about to embark on the battlefield to say goodbye to their families. And the meaning contained in those eyes is farewell. But hasn't he already become a Hokage? With his strength, is there anyone else in the ninja world who can pose a threat to a strong man of this level? Light Escape, 8 Gates, Sage Art, Flying Thunder God, Sealing Techniques, plus a huge amount of chakra like cheating. To be honest, even if my grandfather and Uchiha Madara are resurrected, the outcome is still a matter of uncertainty. In an instant, countless confusions and puzzles appeared in Tsunade's mind. Chapter 030. As confused as Tsunade, there are countless netizens who are watching the video. Although the change in Shimei Uehara's eyes at the last moment was extremely brief, everyone still clearly noticed it due to the close-up of the scroll. Not only noticed, the feeling that you are obviously deeply attached to something, that you obviously can't let go of everything, but you have to work hard to force yourself to cut off everything. It instantly hits the deepest and softest place in everyone's heart. So much so that the LSPs who were making crazy comments about Tsunade in disguise suddenly became quiet on the barrage. The tenderness of a tough guy is already very touching, but peeling off that tenderness with your own hands is even more heartbreaking. Although I still don't know what happened, but in their hearts, Uehara Shimei seemed to have become a giant who walked forward with his back to the abyss but left his smile and warmth to the world and the people he loved. Who knows what happened? Although Lord Hokage was still very young at that time, it is almost impossible to find anyone in the ninja world who can pose a threat to him, unless he does not belong to the ninja world. After all these years, Shimei Uehara is still fine. Does that mean the trouble has been solved? It's not easy, Hokage-sama. I remember the fourth generation once said that the crown will make the person who wears it taller than others and is a symbol of power and status. But the real meaning of the crown is, when disaster falls from the sky, I will resist everything for you and always let you see only golden hope. I didn't pay much attention to it at the time, but now it seems that this sentence has a different meaning. Walking forward alone in the dark, it turns out that this is the true meaning of Hokage. Countless people have speculated, but from beginning to end, no one provided even a single message with a confirming tone, and most of these speculations seem very unreliable. At this time, Tsunade from the original ninja world suddenly spoke. It's strange. Why are the barrages posted by ordinary jonin and ninjas from our world? What about the 7 ninja sect under the king? Come out and explain. Because it is my own comparison video. In addition, she also wanted to know how she was living in another world, whether she was happy or not. And what is the specific relationship with Uehara Shimei, and how did they get together? So I stared at the scroll almost without blinking, not letting go of any picture. Even the barrage, especially the part related to myself, is also very careful. As soon as she opened her mouth, everyone who was discussing suddenly realized something was wrong. The top experts in the ninja world, such as Uehara Maki, who were very active before, all seemed to be invisible at this critical moment. The people who were already anxious suddenly became even more impatient. According to normal logic, if there is really no problem, shouldn't Uehara Shimei and his subordinates immediately step forward to answer questions and eliminate everyone's worries at this time? But everyone who might have known the information remained silent. Obviously, the matter should be much more terrifying and serious than what everyone guessed. However, at this moment, another heavyweight figure suddenly jumped out. Original Uchiha Madara, undead, I think I should know. Original Uchiha Madara, undead, ha 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 ha, Uehara Shimei, your ability really surprises me, but it's not that easy to stop me. I hope that at that time you can make my blood boil a little bit. I'm very much looking forward to this. Hades. Uchiha Madara looked at the scroll with bright eyes and laughed wildly. The mouth is so wide that even half of the face is elongated. According to the information provided at the beginning of the scroll, the so-called world will, another change in the ninja world began with the birth of Uehara Shimei. At that time, he had completed the most important step of the entire plan, which was to obtain Hashirama's power and open the Samsara Eye. Even the subsequent steps may be different from here because of the appearance of Shimei Uehara. But he believed that his other self could arrange everything, and only the power of the Samsara Eye, and only the strength of his ninja Shura, are worthy of being feared by someone like Shimei Uehara. What convinced Uchiha Madara even more was, previously, when the two communicated through barrage, Shimei Uehara once said this. Reality is only filled with helplessness, pain, and emptiness. I'm curious how you came to this conclusion. Are you just imagining alone in a dark cave? Also, no two leaves will grow exactly the same on the same tree. There are tens of thousands of people in the world, and there are tens of thousands of sentient beings in the world. Your dream is peace, and his dream is war. A wants to dominate all living beings and dominate, and B wants to be free and unrestricted. Not everyone yearns for truth, goodness, and beauty, and their dreams conflict with each other. You call building a perfect world where there is no war, no pain, no failure, only winners, only love and peace. Such a world cannot exist except in Jinjutsu. There are 2 key points in this passage. The first one is the sentence, is it possible to imagine alone in a dark cave? Ever since he successfully obtained Hashirama's power, hadn't he just been hiding in a dark cave to survive? In addition, such a world cannot exist except in Jinjutsu. And his means to achieve world peace happens to be the ultimate Jinjutsu infinite Tsukuyomi. I thought it was just a coincidence before. Now it seems that I am afraid that Uehara Shimei learned something. Uchiha Madara is really excited. In addition to Heisei Hot Mom, I will soon have a new opponent. As someone who once said, this world is too small. It's barely big enough for me to do all the work on my own. Fighting, or the warlike factor, is almost engraved in the blood. He was really looking forward to and longing for the Uehara Shimei, who was praised by thousands of people, to bring him a little surprise that he had not seen for a long time. One stone stirs up 1,000 waves. As soon as Uchiha Madara said these words, countless people's spirits were lifted instantly. Because there is too much information in these two sentences. Especially the second sentence, it almost makes it clear that the person who threatens Uehara Shimei is Uchiha Madara himself. Moreover, this threat has not been eliminated until now. Almost instantly, everyone invariably remembered the argument the two had had on the barrage. At that time, Uchiha Madara said that he would use Jinjutsu to create a truly perfect world where there would be no war, no pain, no failure, only winners, only love and peace. Then, he was refuted by Shimei Uehara. In an instant, countless barrages poured out like explosions. Original Senju Hashirama, Undead Madara, what's going on? What are you planning? Original Senju Tobarama, Undead, it is indeed the evil Uchiha. I knew it was up to no good. Original Anoki, isn't Uchiha Madara dead a long time ago? There is still an undead mark on the barrage. Original Chio, Undead, it should be the secret technique of resurrection. The old woman once developed a special secret technique that makes puppets truly alive. It can also be used to resurrect the dead. Although my technique can only resurrect the recently deceased, and the body must be preserved intact, it will also consume all of my own vitality. But this at least proves that resurrecting the undead is not a fantasy. This possibility exists. Uchiha Madara is one of the two heroes of the Warring States period. It is not unreasonable for a character like him to find or create a similar jutsu. Original Senju Tobarama, Undead. It's also possible that it's the reincarnation of the Dirty Land. But if it's the Dirty Land, my eldest brother and I and others can also go back. I know that Orochimaru has mastered and even improved this technique, and he summoned me. Original Namikaze Minato, Undead. Let me tell you some information. 5th generation, everyone in Konoha and the ninja world, please pay attention. My disciple Uchiha Obito is not dead. Not only is he not dead, but he has also unlocked the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan, which possesses extremely rare spatial abilities. It was this person who controlled Nine Tails to attack Konoha, and he called himself Uchiha Madara. Chapter 031. Uchiha Madara's speech has attracted much attention, and many people already have a bad premonition. And Chiyo's opening pushed the intensity of the debate to another peak. In the world of the underworld, countless undead souls once again recalled the terrifying era shrouded by Susanoo and the Daibutsu. Be it the god of ninja or Shura from the ninja world, they were all killed on the battlefield. One general's achievements can lead to thousands of deaths, let alone such a heaven-defying figure who has changed the pattern of the times. If such a character is resurrected, it is difficult to imagine how to deal with reality. In reality, everyone is also horrified by the speculation that Uchiha Madara may have mastered the secret technique that can resurrect him. After all, that's Uchiha Madara. The name of a person, the shadow of a tree. Even if you haven't faced that majesty and terror directly, the ruins of the Valley of the End are still there, and you can somewhat imagine it. However, others were just shocked. In a dark cave somewhere, a strange creature that was completely black and barely resembled a humanoid could not help but curse. Of course, he didn't publish it on the barrage. He just hid alone and complained. Uchiha Madara, are you really sick? Are you sick? Are you sick? The plan has reached its most critical moment. The sudden appearance of a bullshit world is enough to cause a headache. Why the hell are you adding to the chaos? Will you die if you don't speak? Will you die? Heiju roared for a while, and his face turned pale with anger. 1,000 years, a whole 1,000 years. He has been serving these stupid Azuras and crazy Indra for more than 1,000 years. God knows how he got through this 1,000 years. Damn it, something happens every time, every time, every time. This time, I finally saw hope, and the most critical and difficult reincarnation I was fused. Next, just wait for Uchiha Madara to resurrect, collect the tailed beasts and cast infinite Tsukuyami, and you're done. As a result, the familiar feeling came again. Uchiha Madara said a casual word, and his details were instantly revealed by the strong men in the ninja world. His whole body was almost numb. I really want to split open Uchiha Madara's head to see what's inside. No, I can't just sit there and wait for death. I have to do something. It was also at a time when Black Zetsu was scolding, and everyone in the two ninja worlds were worried. Another one, Uchiha Madara, suddenly fired several barrages with lightning speed. And the content of each piece is so scary, bizarre, weird, and confusing. Ninja World Uchiha Madara, Undead. I didn't, don't talk nonsense. Ninja World Uchiha Madara, Undead. I want to make it clear here that I have nothing to do with that B asterisk 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 D, who calls himself Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara, I warn you not to talk nonsense. Do you know that I will sue you for libel? I will sue you for libel. Uehara, he is slandering me. Ninja World Uchiha Madara, undead, Uchiha Madara. I give you half an hour to surrender on the barrage. Don't even think about running away. Don't think about getting a substitute to wander around. And don't think about resurrecting the substitute so that you can cause trouble everywhere. Don't let me see you. If you let me see you, I will kill you in minutes. Ninja World Uchiha Madara, undead. I am sworn in with evil. This series of speeches by Uchiha Madara, the current Ninja World, instantly shocked everyone. Almost everyone saw these barrages, whether they were humans or psychic beasts, alive or dead, ninjas, warriors, or even ordinary people. Everyone's expressions and eyes became extremely unified at this moment. As if seeing something extremely strange and worthy of surprise, the mouth is wide open, the eyes are straight, the pupils are constricted, the expression is frozen, and the body is sluggish. The violent emotional shock caused the barrage that was just exploding like an explosion to disappear completely. Original Hades. Ninja World Uchiha Madara's speech made the original Uchiha Madara, who was still laughing wildly, freeze his smile. What the hell? Do you want to take a look at what you were talking about? After coming back to his senses, he immediately felt a sense of rage and a kind of panic-stricken curiosity. What did Uehara Shimei do to his other self? On the scroll, the silence of the barrage lasted for 3 seconds. 3 seconds later, someone couldn't help but jump out. Is it fake? Is this Uchiha Madara? Someone is not pretending to be it, right? I must be blind, or I've been hit by genjutsu. Really, who would invent such a boring and outrageous genjutsu that can be seen through at a glance? This ninja Shura is a little too cold. No, brother. Where's your rebelliousness? Why don't you recover for a while? I still like to see you the way you were just now. Isn't even Uchiha Madara a target? How terrible are the enemies of 4th generation? But why do I feel a little cruel? The process of training Battlefield rose to look like this must be exciting, right? I don't know why, but I suddenly want to watch Uchiha Madara's comparison video. Haha. Brothers and sisters, make Master Hokage powerful. Lord Hokage is mighty. Lord Hokage is mighty. Lord Hokage is mighty. No matter how everyone speculates and debates, the video on the scroll still continues. After Tsunade left Konoha, she also wandered in the world, and her trajectory was almost the same as that of Tsunade in the original ninja world. But unlike the original Tsunade who just followed the crowd to escape the pain in her heart, Tsunade here is obviously much happier and more unrestrained. And her whole mood, mentality, and momentum are completely different. This Tsunade walks around and looks around every day: casinos, bars, cities, mountains, rivers, forests, famous scenery, or various dangerous places and desperate places. The Kingdom of Water is further east. The Kingdom of Snow is further north. The Kingdom of Wind is further east. And there are many places that are so inaccessible that they are almost beyond the map of the ninja world, all of which have left her footprints. He was almost measuring the entire ninja world with his feet. And her high strength also allows her to be almost unafraid of all dangers and cope with all emergencies. By the way, she is also completing the tasks assigned to her by Uehara Shimei and teaching Kato Shizen. Of course, occasionally he beat up some gangsters, taught a few gangsters a lesson, or deceived unscrupulous traders and displeased nobles. It can be said that he does whatever he wants and is extremely free and carefree. The audience watching also felt itchy. In fact, compared to licking blood from the head, Tsunade's life is really wonderful, exactly what she imagined a perfect life should be like. You can taste different foods everywhere, see all kinds of wonderful local customs, and you can also act chivalrously, directly envious of everyone. Even in Uehara Shimei's previous life, there was an explosion of information, and you could find pictures and videos on the internet if you wanted to see any scenery. A similar lifestyle is also very enviable. Various programs, videos, and anchors related to outdoor hiking, cycling, RVing, etc. have attracted a lot of attention, especially in the shinobi world where culture is lacking. All kinds of barrages of envy and yearning filled the entire picture. Original Ninja World, Tsunade herself, who had traveled in the ninja world for nearly 20 years, also lost her sight for a while. The mood is different. Even if facing the same scenery, the feelings are very different. It's the same travel, and the other self can be completely immersed in it and enjoy it to the fullest, but she felt that the days were like years, and she was in a muddle. She didn't even pay attention to whether the scenery was beautiful or not, and whether there were any special foods. Chapter 032. Tsunade's wandering days lasted for 5 years. In 5 years, Shizen has gradually grown from the little girl she was before to a slimmer one. She has a pair of long, white, and tender legs, and looks sassy and beautiful when standing in front of the camera. Tsunade, on the other hand, remained unchanged. In the video at this moment, there is a blue sea. A small boat, only 5 or 6 meters long, drifted in it with the current. On the bow of the boat, Tsunade held a wine jar in the air and shook it gently, while she opened her mouth wide and followed it below. After the last drop of the last jar of wine falls into your mouth, throw the jar away, he said with a still unfinished expression. Shizen, do you think I should go back? After all, it's been 5 years. Whatever first 5-year plan that guy made is coming to an end. As Konoha Jonin, I should go back to listen to reports and make suggestions. What do you think? Next to her, Shizen curled her lips slightly. He thought secretly, are you doing that for Konoha? I'm embarrassed to point it out to you. However, despite the constant slander in his heart, he still said quite sincerely, you should indeed go back once. Master Hokage will probably be very happy. It's not because of that guy. I know how to take advantage of him as soon as we meet. I don't know what's going on in my mind. It's all Jiraiya's fault. If he hadn't taught Uehara Shimei bad things. Tsunade glanced at Shizen threateningly. However, this is what he said. But in my heart, I couldn't help but think of that decisive look that almost suffocated me when we parted 5 years ago. Over the past 5 years, she has been secretly following Uehara Shimei. Although Senju was disbanded by the second grandfather, many people died in the Second Ninja War and the wood-style plan of that old man Sarutobi Hiruzen. But after all, the tree is big and has deep roots, so there are still a lot of dark seeds left. Every once in a while, major events in Konoha and the ninja world, as well as Uehara Shimei's movements, will be delivered to her through a special channel. This is also the reason why she can wander outside with peace of mind for 5 years. She knew that not only did Shimei Uehara and Konoha have no problems, but on the contrary, they were getting better and more prosperous. This guy not only single-handedly subdued the 4 major ninja villages, but also completely put an end to the Third Ninja War, which was supposed to last for more than 10 years, in 3 or 2 years. Konoha has also undergone profound changes, and even villages have begun to be completely torn down and rebuilt. It is said that many new technologies have been applied and many novel things have appeared. Of course, some of the most important things to him were also left behind. Mikoto and Kushina became pregnant one after another, and each gave birth to a son, named Naruto Uehara and Sasuke Uehara respectively. The Hyuga clan took the initiative to send a girl named Hyuga Ayari to their side. This H actually didn't refuse, he just accepted it openly and with peace of mind. It's really hateful. I must give him a good beating if I get the chance. In addition, I heard that he also accepted several disciples one after another, Hatake Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai, Metkai, Uchiha Shursui, Hyuga Firegate, and Yamashiro Aoba. They seem to be quite famous. Also, the Uchiha problem that was not solved by second generation and third generation was easily solved in his hands. Everything is developing towards the best, and even the best direction that has never been imagined before. That guy should be very proud now, right? Thinking of this, Tsunade couldn't help but have a smile on her face. As a Hokage, Uehara Shimei's achievements undoubtedly exceeded the imagination of her and all those who supported her. He kept his promise and did so at lightning speed. Tsunade herself wanted to return to Konoha from the unknown sea area further east than the Kingdom of Water. Naturally, it was not a matter of chance. But the video was just a transition, and the gate of Konoha had already appeared in front of her. And it was Konoha's first appearance in 5 years that instantly detonated the entire barrage. Specifically, it caused everyone in the original ninja world to fall into deep shock. I saw that the dilapidated wooden door that was there more than 10 minutes ago had disappeared. What appeared instead was a giant city wall that was more than 20 meters high. Moreover, it is not made of ordinary earth piled and rammed, nor is it even an ordinary earth style. It presents a bright and smooth color that is close to that of polished jade, with lines and various exotic animal patterns remaining on it. It looks spectacular and extremely beautiful. 2 giant bronze doors made entirely of metal were completely wrapped in this section of the city wall. Above the giant gate, there is also a city gate building no smaller than the villa courtyard. Through the crenel, you can see Hyuga and Uchiha ninjas guarding and patrolling above. Just this simple picture is enough to show how amazing and huge changes Konoha has undergone in the past 5 years. After entering the gate, the scene inside was completely different from before. Construction site, there are construction sites everywhere, including the Hokage building, ninja school, and several blocks. Many of the original buildings were completely demolished. Countless workers and ninjas shuttled through it, sweating profusely but enthusiastically building new homes. And around, you can still see brand new buildings that are completely different from the original style. These buildings, as if they came out of myths, are so beautiful that they are beyond words. Novel and bold design, completely different building materials, strange but unexpectedly pleasing shapes, bright but refreshing colors. Coupled with the magnificent overall layout, it can be clearly felt that the designer has great courage and ambition. Tsunade activated the teleportation technique and leapt to the top of Konoha's famous scenic spot, Hokage Rock, in a few seconds. Stepping on Sarutobi Hiruzen's head, one can clearly see the entire Konoha. And from this look, it turns out that she heard about the changes in Konoha through intelligence. At this moment, I couldn't help but lose my mind. Spectacular, grand, atmospheric, beautiful, like a fairyland. When countless things appear that are completely unexpected and even completely absent from previous concepts and consciousness, Tsunade didn't know what words to use to describe Konoha in her eyes at this moment. But she knew that looking across the entire ninja world, she could never find another family that could compare. Is this the transformation the children of prophecy will bring? Tsunade's muttering to herself was also the voice of countless people in the original ninja world. And at this moment, their envy of the current ninja world and their admiration for Uehara Shimei have reached the extreme. Their Konoha, more than 10 years later, still has no changes. Even after the Nine Tails Rebellion, things were rebuilt exactly the same as before. I didn't think it was anything at first, but looking at this Konoha, I only felt a strong sense of disappointment and sadness. Many people were suddenly shocked. Under the rule of Sarutobi Hiruzen, for decades, nothing new had ever appeared in Konoha. It's no wonder that when Orochimaru killed his master, he called Konoha a windmill that doesn't turn and is worthless. It's really too old and stale. And when Tsunade was shocked by the changes in Konoha, in the courtyard of a newly built villa, Shimei Uehara glanced at Hokage Rock in the distance by accident. At this glance, a touch of joy appeared on his face for an instant, and then, this joy turned into some kind of evil smile with evil intentions. Have you finally come back? Lousy has been spinning a web for so long, and it's time to throw it out. Tsunade, come to my bowl quickly. Chapter 033. Tsunade didn't stay on the Hokage Rock for too long. I grabbed a random ninja on the street, asked about Hokage's residence, and then went straight to Uehara Shimei's villa. I don't know what I thought of, after seeing the strange building from a distance that was completely different from other places in the entire ninja world. Her pretty face, with no flaws at all, suddenly became extremely excited, and even her eyes began to glow green. It was like a hungry wolf that was so skinny that it suddenly saw delicious fat. With such unabashed desire, people who didn't know it might think she was preparing to eat people. Not only expressions, the pace under his feet became faster and faster, until finally, his body completely turned into an afterimage. Hey, Uehara boy, quickly hand over all the good wine you have hidden to me. Ha ha ha, I must get drunk today. I haven't smelled alcohol in half a month. Do you know how I got here these past 10 days? What are you doing standing still? Don't you know who I am? Gate of opening, gate of opening, gate of opening. Forget it, let me do it. Huh. Before Tsunade arrived, the excited voices were already coming from far away. A strong desire for wine, especially the wine brewed by Uehara Shimei, she couldn't even wait for Umbu, who was on duty, to greet her respected Lord Sannin and make an internal report. With a loud bang, a door had been turned into pieces. However, just as the door was shattered, Tsunade's originally excited expression suddenly froze. What appeared instead was an equally intense look of shock. Under the scroll, countless viewers also widened their eyes at this moment, and their expressions became exaggerated. I saw Shimei Uehara naked from the waist up in the courtyard, with only a pair of very loose shorts underneath. The streamlined muscles bulge one by one, as strong and powerful as steel bars. The whole thing has an indescribable beauty of wildness and power, and has a strong visual impact. The most surprising thing is that his skin is as smooth as jade, with a crystal luster, like a magnificent work of art. But these are not the main point. What really shocked everyone was that at this moment, Uehara Shimei stood under a huge metal mechanical frame, holding a pair of metal rings slightly wider than his shoulders with both hands, and slowly lifted up a huge square lead block with a side length of more than 5 meters. There is a layer of bright electric light with a golden color lingering all over his body. Countless tiny bolts of lightning escaped from time to time, making crisp crackling sounds all around. The density of lead is about 11.3, the side length is 5 meters, and the volume is 125. The total weight exceeds 1,400 tons. It only took a moment for Tsunade to calculate the weight of the lead weight held by Shimei Uehara. This level has completely exceeded her strange power. But even the strange power is a short-term burst that is exerted and amplified by chakra, rather than normal physical power. Author's note: no description of the specific strength of the Hokage was found. The author can only speculate based on the size of the tailed beast and its physical destructive capabilities. Let's add a second setting here for the time being. The explosion of third-generation thunder and Tsunade's strange power punch is about 1,000 tons, and the fourth-generation thunder is slightly inferior to Tsunade. As for Kai's 8th gates, there will be a new second design in the future, which is equivalent to a quantitative change leading to a qualitative change, and it will not be pure strength. Seeing Uehara Shimei clenching his teeth, with a ferocious expression, he lifted up the huge lead block little by little, which made people's scalp numb just by looking at it. Tsunade seemed to have lost her ability to think. His eyes were blank and his expression was completely dull, so much so that he even forgot what he wanted to say. Everyone on the barrage was also dumbfounded. Is this still a human being? It's incredible that such a huge lead block can be lifted alive by human power. I just calculated it and found that the weight of this lead block is at least 1,400 tons. It's really terrifying. Horrible. It is said that the third-generation thunder can resist the tailed beasts, and the fourth-generation fire is not much better than the tailed beasts themselves, right? With such a level of power, no one can stop it with just physical skills, right? Hokage-sama is really handsome. I wonder how to take care of this skin. Can you learn from me? While everyone was discussing, a sudden change occurred on the field. I don't know what happened, but the layer of golden electric light surrounding and wrapping Uehara Shimei's body suddenly dissipated. His body seemed to have lost its strength and fell towards the ground, and the huge lead block he lifted up immediately pressed down heavily. Tsunade's expression changed drastically in an instant. Chakra erupted under her feet, and she was ready to come to the rescue. However, just as she took a step, the falling lead block was locked in mid-air by the mechanical mechanism on the metal frame. It was a false alarm and Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief. But the next second, he immediately scolded with anger on his face. You're being too reckless, aren't you? Having light release, Genjutsu, and Flying Thunder God is more than enough. How many people in this ninja world can you find that you can't beat? Why bother yourself so much? As Tsunade spoke, her pupils contracted violently again, and her expression suddenly became tense. I saw Uehara Shimei lying on the ground. Thin blood-colored lines began to appear on the skin, densely packed all over the body. The whole person seemed to be pieced together by countless tiny pieces of porcelain, giving the illusion that he would turn into dust with the slightest touch. Tsunade's expression turned pale. As a medical ninja, and a top-notch medical ninja at that, she certainly knew what was happening. This strange symptom will only occur when the muscle is completely torn. Moreover, the tearing of Uehara Shimei was not just in a certain part, but in all the muscles of the whole body. The degree of tearing was also extremely thorough, almost destroying the muscle groups. At this moment, as if he had been prepared or was already familiar with the process, two medical ninjas in white coats jumped out. Green light flashed on their palms, and they gently pressed on Uehara Shimei's legs. Get out of the way. Tsunade gently pushed the two medical ninjas with her hands, and they were thrown out and sat on the ground nearby. Then, Yang-style chakra, which was much stronger and more vibrant than those of the other two, extended from his palm. As Tsunade started to treat him, the shock on her face became even more exaggerated. Not only was Uehara Shimei's current condition much more serious than she had expected and judged with her eyes, at this level, unless the patient has strong vitality and is not treated properly, it may be life-threatening. Also, his muscle toughness and bone strength were almost beyond her imagination. This means that this kind of practice is definitely not the first time. Only by persisting for several years, or even more than 10 years, and breaking the limits as thoroughly as possible every time, breaking through the upper limit of what the body can bear, can it be possible to reach this level. Sensing the tragic situation inside Uehara Shimei's body, even though she was as kind-hearted as Tsunade, 2 lines of hot tears could not help but burst out from her eyes. Why are you doing this? Why? Upon hearing this, Uehara Siming smiled helplessly. You think I don't want to? Unfortunately, the tree wants to be still, but the wind does not stop. Forget it. Let's not talk about these boring things. Have you finished the wine? I prepared it for you 4 years ago, and it's almost ready to be aged. As he spoke, Uehara Siming's smile suddenly changed, like an old father doting on his naughty daughter. The feeling of knowing that the other party has ulterior motives, but not taking it seriously, but being ready to be plundered, and being very happy about it. It instantly touched Tsunade's heart. The system divides actors' acting skills into 5 levels. Ordinary. The actor has nothing but good looks and can barely play the role. The performance is full of flaws and distracts people from the show. For example, Might Guy cheats people. Qualified. Has a certain degree of role completion, but the technical content is not high. The emotional expression is very intuitive, lacks a sense of hierarchy, and is neither dramatic nor outstanding. For example, Other People Cheating. Standard. Basically complete the role, be able to express emotions accurately, control many elements including temperament, momentum, eyes, expressions, tone, movements, etc., easily interpret the state you want to express, and be able to control it freely and with natural transitions. There is no trace of performance, but the depth and development are still lacking. For example, Third Generation is a scam. Excellence. He or she is able to fully immerse himself or herself in the role he or she is playing, and fully believes in and devotes himself or herself to the role. It is flawless and seamless, and has formed a unique method in school with strong emotional appeal. Moreover, all the elements required for performance are mastered to such an extreme that they become instinctive and passive, and do not require any interpretation. For example, Uehara Siming did not lie. Super God. Super God performance that surpasses perfection and touches the soul, is so superb and touching that it no longer belongs to the category of performance. A look, a gesture, a sigh, they can be deeply imprinted in other people's hearts and make them unforgettable for a long time. For example, Uehara Siming actively deceives people. Note. Super God is the strongest genjutsu, the inherent skill of the will of fire, and is someone's livelihood and signature skill. Chapter 034. Tsunade's level is indeed much higher than that of ordinary medical ninjas. In just 2 or 3 minutes, Shimei Uehara felt that the situation in his body had greatly improved. He slowly sat up, moved his arms, and reached out to stop Tsunade. A wry smile said, "It's almost done, as long as the bleeding doesn't continue. If you treat it too thoroughly, all my hard work will be in vain. Why are you so messed up? Do you know that if you are injured to such an extent, even if it can be cured, your vitality will be lost? My grandfather died of excessive consumption of vitality. Do you want to make the same mistake again?" There were tears in Tsunade's eyes, but her whole person looked fierce. His tone was fierce, with a hint of command, and his face was full of anger. However, Uehara Siming didn't take it seriously at all. Instead, he was a little secretly happy, feeling that all his planning and efforts were not in vain. This is how many people who don't care about others suddenly start caring about others. But no matter what the method is, whether the skills are high or not, as long as you start to care, it is a good thing. Uehara Siming's heart was filled with twists and turns, but there was a sly smile on his face. Just think that I am bored, love to exercise, or want to challenge the limits of human beings. It doesn't matter. After saying that, without waiting for Tsunade to ask further questions, she turned around and walked towards the living room facing the courtyard. On the same spot, the expression on Tsunade's face became extremely ugly in an instant. Just pretend it's boring? Something that doesn't matter? Do you think I, Tsunadeheim, am a fool? Who would be so bored that they would hurt themselves to this extent? Loss of vitality is no joke, and he might die young at some point. She doesn't believe that a ninja of Shimei Uehara's level doesn't even know this. There must be something unknown in this. Suddenly, a light flashed in my heart. Tsunade suddenly remembered the look of determination that made her puzzled when the two parted 5 years ago. Uehara Siming may have completely forgotten about this matter, but she remembered it clearly and secretly investigated a lot of things, but she never found anything. In the video, Tsunade's heart was filled with uncertainty. In addition to the video, the picture scroll has also caused a lot of noise. Unlike Tsunade, who can remember a certain detail from 5 years ago, to netizens, Shimei Uehara's determined look only lasted 10 minutes. The memory cannot be said to be profound. It can only be said that I have not forgotten it at all. Nature connected them easily. Almost everyone came to the exact same conclusion in an instant. That's why Uehara Shimei practiced so hard, even at the expense of his vitality. There must be something terrible urging and forcing him to do so. I originally thought it was because of Uchiha Madara, but now, even Uchiha Madara himself has come forward to deny it, and still acts so cute. Obviously, he has already enjoyed too much love from Uehara brand, and it is impossible to be feared by Uehara Shimei. Moreover, when the strength reaches a certain level, each time it reaches a higher level, it cannot be quantified by numbers alone. Because in most cases, the stronger the force, the faster the speed. The actual striking effect of power is the superposition of the power itself and the speed at which this power is emitted. 1,000 tons of huge power is completely enough to break Susanu's absolute defense. Coupled with the elimination of blood successors and various forbidden techniques, if it were just for one Uchiha Madara, there would be no need to go to this extent. In an instant, all kinds of speculations and discussions were once again noisy. Even the two Uchiha Madara were confused for a moment. As a strong man from the Warring States period who had seen the red steam of 8 Gates Duinjia, the scene of Shimei Uehara lifting 1,000 tons of lead made even their hearts shake. Damn it, is this guy targeting me? While there was a heated discussion on the barrage, there was an independent space somewhere. A middle-aged man wearing a white feather fabric also had a sudden change in his eyes. This man has a very special image. Her hair is gathered on the top of her head, with a long braid on the back of her head, and the Roman numeral 4 is tattooed under her left eye. The most conspicuous thing is the diamond-shaped black mark on his chin that looks like a tattoo. The more Otsutsuki thinks about it, the more something seems wrong. Obviously this guy ninjutsu jinjutsu is so powerful, even the blood successor elimination that is closest to the blood successor snare has been developed, but he still has to practice the most difficult and most thankless taijutsu. If this wasn't aimed at the Rinnegan and Otsutsuki, he wouldn't believe it even if he told him to go to hell. And the kiloton level force, once combined with super speed, is indeed enough to threaten the real Otsutsuki. Not only Otsutsuki 1 style, the original ninja world, Mount Myaboku Great Toad Sage, the Sage of 6 Paths in the 2 underworld worlds, and Kagaya, the ancestor of chakra sealed in the moon, are among the few characters who know the existence of Otsutsuki. After seeing this scene, they all responded with the same thought. The Samsara Eye has the property of absorbing chakra, so regular ninjutsu and jinjutsu have no effect at all. To deal with Otsutsuki, taijutsu is one of the few effective ways. After understanding this, they also paid more attention to this so-called world will. Especially for Uehara Shimei, he looked up to him even more highly. Shimei Uehara did not answer directly twice in a row, either changing the topic or simply evading it. Tsunade didn't continue to be aggressive. He just silently remembered all this in his heart and prepared to investigate alone secretly. After calming down his expression, he followed him into the living room. Inside, Uchiha Mikoto was holding a white towel in his hand and was carefully wiping the bloodstains on Shimei Uehara's body. My eyes were filled with mist, and I was about to cry. After seeing her, tears fell directly. The voice asked with some surprise, "Tsunade-sama, what did you do to her?" Tsunade had a weird look on her face. No, it's not because of Lord Hokage. No, it's not because of Lord Hokage. Mikoto's expression suddenly changed, as if he was very worried that others would misunderstand Uehara Shimei, and he quickly waved his hands to explain. However, it's okay if she doesn't explain. After this explanation, Tsunade immediately crossed her arms, and her demeanor suddenly changed. An inexplicable hostility began to emanate from his whole body, and even his tone became self-taught. Oh, so you care about him? Didn't he steal you from Uchiha? Is this a long-lasting love? I remember that Uchiha was very troubled by him back then. Your current patriarch was seriously injured, and the great elder, your grandfather, was very angry. Uehara, can't you tell? You are quite good at pleasing girls. As soon as she said these words, Uchiha Mikoto's expression when he looked at Tsunade suddenly became very strange, and he had obviously noticed something was wrong. Although her character is weak, her heart is surprisingly sharp. Especially in the past few years, there has been no friction with Kushina, Hyugayari, and others, and the experience can be said to be rich. And someone's palace fighting ability is not so much small as it is none at all. Tsunade-san. Ueharaji coughed slightly and forced the two people's attention to himself. Then he changed the topic and said, I built an underground wine cellar here, and the batch of wine I brewed for you is also in it. Go find Umbu at the door, they know. A few minutes later, Tsunade got 3 sealed scrolls full of various secret aged flower wines as she wished. He left the villa courtyard with a smile on his face. However, she did not immediately find a place to enjoy this batch of wine that she had been thinking about for a long time. Instead, Konoha found acquaintances all over the place. At the same time, in the living room, Shimei Uehara prayed silently in his heart. Jiraiya-sensei, please be careful. I hope you are okay. Chapter 035. Tsunade didn't wander around the street for long. Soon, a young man with a simple and honest face and a rather Akamichi-like body shape approached her. His name is Tianyu Naoto, or Senju Naoto. He is the most talented among the children who were scattered from Senju back then. At only 25 years old, he has already held the official title of Jonin for 4 years. Becoming a Jonin at the age of 21 seems a bit underwhelming compared to monsters like Hatake Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi who achieved fame at the age of 12 or 13. But in fact, this is just a common mistake made by outsiders when commenting on Jiangshan. It seems that as long as you talk about others being worthless, you can become awesome yourself. In the world of real ninjas, Genin is the main theme and the largest group. Regardless of missions or wars, Genin is always the one who participates the most. Chunin is already a captain and squad leader level leader. The number of people is the same as the team's equipment, accounting for about a quarter of the ninja group. Jonin, including special Jonin, are already qualified to become leaders and commanders of a battle line. No matter how old you are, if you are successfully promoted, you are an absolute elite and core force. The quantity is extremely rare, even in a ninja village like Konoha, where secret arts and blood successors gather together. The proportion is difficult to exceed 1%. On average, only one Jonin or special high will be born for every 100 ninjas, which shows how difficult it is. Becoming an official Jonin at the age of 21 is enough to become one of the top few elites in any ninja village. It will immediately become a key protection and cultivation target. Use a data as a comparison. Tsunade, Orochimaru, became a Jonin at the age of 19. Only Jiraiya was a little earlier because of Sage Jutsu. In the timeline of the original ninja world, Namake's Minato became a Jonin at the age of 18. Senju Naoto is only a hair behind these people. Especially when the 3 games were SOSO, it is even more rare to be able to do this. Because Jonin is not only a representative of strength, but also a symbol of status. It is a high-level position and requires sufficient merit and number of tasks as support to be promoted. Naoto Amaha becoming a Jonin at such a young age is undoubtedly a shot in the arm for the declining Senju clan. In just a few years, he has already become the backbone and has high hopes. This time, he also represented the branch house and contacted Tsunade, a direct bloodline. Not long after, there was a secret room. Senju Naoto knelt on one knee in front of Tsunade and vividly reported on the series of changes in Konoha since the last exchange of information. After the report, Tsunade did not comment, but nodded slightly. Directly ordered, I need your help to collect and sort out all the actions of the 4th generation since taking office to the present. It must be detailed, both overt and covert. Even if it is some gossip and rumors, try to include it. After Tsunade finished speaking, she planned to leave. Naoto Senju is not only extremely talented and powerful, but even more rare is that he is also loyal and handles all matters in a thorough and detailed manner. He is an all-round talent. Every time in the past, she completed the tasks assigned to her with great success. However, today, there was no reply for a while. Tsunade lowered her head and looked over, only to see Senju Naoto looking hesitant and Ifubao hesitating to speak. Anything else? Tsunade-sama, there is something I don't know whether I should say. Say what you want to say. Actually, Master Hokage did a very good job. As soon as Senju Naoto said this, a series of question marks suddenly appeared on Tsunade's head. What the hell? I thought you had some difficulties or requirements. Why did you suddenly praise that guy? Although the 4th generation project's superior methods are a little more violent, my subordinates believe that as a Hokage, it is exceptionally good, even compared to the 2nd generation project. He is farsighted, and has his own unique opinions on many things, and he is often proven correct afterwards. He can also take the lead on the battlefield. If it weren't for him, the 3 battles would have lasted for how long? Moreover, he has a very broad mind. Regardless of whether he is a family ninja or a civilian ninja, as long as he is talented enough, he will not hesitate to cultivate him and has never discriminated against anyone. Everyone in Konoha likes and supports him. The more Naoto Senju talks, the more something seems wrong. Tsunade looked serious at first, but within 2 sentences she became more and more confused, unable to figure out what the other party wanted to express. Later, when I suddenly came to my senses, I was immediately happy and angry. She was originally upset because of Uehara Shiming's weird behavior, and now someone was saying such things in front of her, doubting herself. He punched Senju Naoto and flew him to the wall, and roared in an almost roaring voice, "Stop! What do you mean? Do you think I am going against him? B****************. D. However, after she punched him, Senju Naoto breathed a sigh of relief. The corners of his mouth were bleeding and his cheeks were swollen, but he was completely relaxed and no longer tense. He climbed up to Tsunade again and reported, "Tsunade-sama, someone is secretly spreading the word that you had no choice but to leave Konoha because you were forced and excluded by Hokage-sama and were dissatisfied with Shimei Uehara. He also said that the fourth generation was obsessed with power, killed and discredited the original high-level officials, and was the biggest traitor in Konoha. If he was allowed to continue to be Hokage, the village would be destroyed sooner or later in his hands. They are working together to assassinate the Hokage and elect you to become the fifth generation, Senju. Some people are also involved." As soon as these words came out, Tsunade's already angry pretty face suddenly revealed a monstrous anger that was 100 times stronger than before. Senju Naoto felt that he was completely enveloped by a terrible murderous intention. As if he saw a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, he couldn't even move for an instant. He is also a jonin and has hardly experienced war. Compared with the heroes of World War II who dominated 2 battlefields, the gap is immediately obvious. Tsunade felt like she was about to explode with anger. His face was bloodshot and red from extreme shame and anger. His chest, which was already as small as a hill, began to rise and fall more violently. A pair of fists slowly tightened. Even the joints cracked. "Gather all those people together and say I want to see them. Remember, it's all of them. No matter what method is used, no one is missing, including the Senju clan." "Yes, I will do it immediately." Late afternoon. Another larger secret place. More than 200 people gathered together densely, staring at Tsunade with excited expressions. Many of them did not expect that Tsunade would actually support them. Thinking back to the 5 miserable years since Sarutobi Hiruzen was killed, I suddenly felt like seeing the light of day again. Only one member of the Sarutobi clan, Jonin, who was clearly the leader, frowned and said, "Tsunade-sama, there are too many people here. If you have anything to do, please announce it as soon as possible, otherwise an accident may happen." Fortunately, Konoha is carrying out infrastructure construction. This period of time is relatively chaotic. Someone may have noticed Goze as soon as he gathered. Shimei Uehara is not easy to deal with. With his cruelty, you may be implicated once he is discovered. Sarutobi Jonin said sincerely, "If you really want to plot something, it is indeed a safe strategy." However, Tsunade seemed not to pay attention to him, but turned to look at Senju Naoto and said, "Is everyone here?" "Everyone in the village has arrived, and there are more than a dozen who are on missions, but I have the list here." Tsunade nodded, then turned to face Sarutobi Jonin. Asked as calmly as possible, "I would like to hear how you plan to assassinate the 4th generation project. Is it possible to rely on this garbage?" Before Sarutobi Jonin could speak, another excited voice rang out from beside him. "Poison, Tsunade-sama, is poison. No matter how strong Uehara Shimei is, there must be a place to show it and be able to display it. It turned out that I was placed in the village by Elder Shimura. I knew that Danzo-sama had many strange toxins in his hands, and some of them were not discovered by the village because the senior officials were killed before they could be reported to the higher authorities after collection. We planned to first place a spy next to Shimei Uehara. After gaining enough trust, he drops a specially prepared poison mixture that is lethal to his food. As a precaution, once the poisoning was successful, they immediately attacked Konoha Hospital, destroyed all the medicines, and killed all the doctors, pharmacists, and medical ninjas. Once Shimei Uehara dies, his subordinates who have been forced to gather together by force will immediately fall apart. At that time, you only need to climb up and shout, and it will be easy to rise to the top." "Okay, very good, very good." Tsunade laughed loudly, gritting her teeth and trembling all over. She clenched her fists, and high concentration of chakra gathered on her fists and feet, exuding a dangerous aura. "If there are any spies or umbu from Lord Hokage here, please come forward immediately. Next, I will kill all of you one by one. Not one left." Chapter 036. "Tsunade-sama, what are you?" As soon as Tsunade opened her mouth, the original ninja who was wearing a flattering smile was instantly frightened, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. The expression of Sarutobi Jonin in front of him also changed drastically. First there was a look of disbelief on his face, and then his eyes slowly widened, and his gaze turned into some kind of intense fear. He had already thought that if even Tsunade, who was the backbone, was unwilling to come forward, then the fate of himself and others would be self-evident. Not only these two, the original excitement of almost everyone at the scene suddenly solidified at this moment, and was replaced by more severe shock, doubt, fear, sluggishness, trembling, etc. Originally dreamed of, as long as Tsunade becomes the leader, as a minister of the dragon and the most trustworthy and loyal direct descendant, I can definitely go back to the domineering and unscrupulous days of the third generation. Even going further is not impossible. But at this moment, all the sweet dreams and everything originally planned were shattered in an instant. They have worried about others around them rebelling, surrendering, or leaking information. But I never expected that the first person to stand up and oppose it would be the fifth generation himself who wanted to support it. This joke is really the most ridiculous thing in the world. Not long after Tsunade finished speaking, the scene suddenly became extremely noisy. Countless unbelievable voices echoed in the dust. Don't you want to be a Hokage? That's a Hokage. Some people looked shocked and tried to win Tsunade back. Tsunade, third generation, is your teacher. Your teacher was killed, and you didn't even dare to take revenge. I think you are a coward. Some people couldn't believe it and tried to awaken Tsunade's fighting spirit. Tsunade, you are ungrateful. Everything you have was given to you by third generation Sama. Some people were so frightened that they were trembling all over, but they looked furious. Tsunade-sama, you must be playing a prank, right? Ha ha ha. So funny. Some people still hold on to the last unrealistic hope. However, in the face of all these, whether it is questioning, anger, or persuasive remarks, Tsunade had only one response. She directly swung her punch, smashing the head of Sarutobi Jonin, who was still frightened in front of her, into a crushed watermelon. Simple and direct. Explain? Defend? Refute? None exist. Umbu or the informant come out immediately. Otherwise you will be wrongfully killed if you are accidentally killed. Tsunade's voice was cold. The uncontrollable killing intent poured out towards everyone in front of him without any restraint or concealment. Ever since she discovered that Uehara Shimei was consuming her life force to practice, she had suppressed a raging anger in her heart that even she felt afraid of and couldn't control, and she couldn't find a place to vent it. This anger, after knowing that someone is using his own name to slander, smear, and oppose Uehara Shimei, so much so that even a loyal subordinate like Senju Naoto began to doubt her, and it reached its peak in an instant. If we didn't understand Uehara Shimei's character, he knew that with his talent, it was absolutely impossible not to discover the conspiracy of this bunch of losers. Now that he had discovered it, he couldn't let it go unchecked. Now, I can almost wash the floor. That guy is not a generous character, casting a long line to catch the big fish, then catching them all in one go. And eradicating the roots is the only reason why this garbage can survive to this day. Also, following the leader Sarutobi Jonin played GG. Among the crowd, several figures looked at each other. He activated the instant body technique and jumped behind Tsunade, revealing his identity. The next moment, a sinister smile appeared on Tsunade's face. He raised his right foot high and struck the ground in front of him with a mountain axe. The chakra, which was condensed and compressed to the extreme, suddenly bloomed in an instant. The air exploded, the earth and rocks shattered, and the earth cracked. The terrifying explosions even caused the eardrums of many ordinary ninjas to crack and caused them to bleed. After a while, the dust began to settle, the originally flat ground disappeared, and what appeared instead was a huge, fan-shaped valley that was 100 meters long and more than 20 meters deep at its deepest point. Including the root ninja facing him, more than half of them were shattered by this blow to the point where no bones were left. Pain Tenko, a super-powerful ninjutsu created by Tsunade based on the secret power of Senju and combined with the heaven-defying chakra control ability of the first medical ninja in the ninja world. High-concentration chakra is compressed to the extreme and then released in a directional manner. Executing it with all its strength is enough to shatter the defense of the complete Susanoo. After this blow fell, Tsunade obviously had no intention of stopping. Use the reverse force to fly into the air. First, with a strange punch, the two unlucky guys on the side who were alone were bombarded into powder from a distance. Almost at the same time, towards the direction where the largest number of people were escaping, another shot of Pain Tianko in full form came. Then, A small burst of chakra erupted from the top of his head, pushing himself down quickly. After one kick broke the ground, the whole person suddenly turned into an arc-shaped afterimage. The strange power can precisely control chakra, concentrated on any part of the body and explode. Not only can it be used for attacks, but it can also increase speed very well. Once you are proficient, borrowing power in the air, turning in the air, continuous acceleration, etc. will also become routine operations. And in the next 3 minutes, Tsunade almost exhausted all her strength, turning the place over and over and blowing it up dozens of times. Even though all the enemies were dead, they still didn't stop. Until the end, nothing was left except a giant crater that was 100 meters deep and more than 500 meters in diameter. Not to mention the corpse, not even a few bones and dregs could be found. On the tree not far away, Senju Naoto, several Umbu, and some other ninjas who came after hearing the sound were sweating on their foreheads. No need to do it to this extent, right? This is no longer a crushing of bones and ashes, it is simply crushing of bones and ashes. Under the scroll, many ninjas saw Tsunade's level of violence for the first time, and their expressions were also extremely exciting. So handsome, yes, he is handsome. Thank you for your hard work, Hokage-sama. Our fourth generation. Don't worry, Hokage-sama is also very strong in physical skills. He won't lose in hand-to-hand combat. If it doesn't work, you can open 8 gates. Upstairs, you are a bit outrageous, but show your curiosity about fighting in 8 gates. It must be exciting. That's enough for you. Friendly reminder, there are real names in the comments. Be careful and you will be expelled tomorrow for entering the office with your right foot. Ninja Jiraiya. Damn it, humanoid female Tyrannosaurus. Original Jiraiya. Undead, it's terrible. Your Tsunade is actually more violent than ours. Ninja Uzumaki Kushina. These people are so bad. They actually made Sister Tsunade so angry. Ninja World Senju Tobarama. Undead. In terms of strength alone, Tsunade has completely surpassed my brother and I. Ninja World Hyuga Ayari. Tsunade here is really angry. Original Tsunade. You look much more chic than me. Chapter 037. After 3 minutes of high-intensity, non-stop bursts, even Tsunade couldn't help but feel a little tired. She exhaled a long breath. The ferocious expression on his face and the raging anger in his heart finally calmed down a bit. After she began to calm down, she gradually realized that something was wrong with herself. It is indeed worth getting angry at having your name taken for granted, but being angry to such an extent that you can barely control it is a bit unjustifiable. Killing itself is already irrational, let alone killing them all without leaving anyone behind. Silently recalling the mental journey just now, Tsunade was surprised to find that her thoughts at the time were, Uehara is working so hard, but you guys are still doing some shady actions behind the scenes that can't be seen on the stage. And I am worried that a certain boy really thinks that I am dissatisfied and resentful towards him as these people said. The latter even accounts for a larger proportion than the former. Especially when I think back to Shimei Uehara's determined eyes and tears that almost never appeared at other times when the two separated 5 years ago. It was as if something suddenly tore a bloody hole in his heart. For a moment, my heart hurt so much that I could hardly breathe. What's wrong with me? Tsunade asked herself silently. In fact, she already had a vague guess, but she was not sure enough and unwilling to admit it. Forget it if everyone else is, but when I think of Uehara shimming, a romantic B****************, D, I naturally feel a certain resistance. She is also proud and cannot compete with Kushina for her husband. 5 years ago, the reason why I left Konoha was precisely because I was afraid of similar situations and similar things happening. Tsunade silently reviewed herself, but what she doesn't know is that it's better to avoid things like feelings than to block them. Can it really be controlled by perseverance? Since ancient times, heroes have struggled with beauty, and many heroes have fallen for love. If you ask what love is in the world, it means that life and death are mutually beneficial. The location chosen by Senju Naoto is not far from Konoha City. Tsunade used her full strength to unleash her Totenka one after another. Such a huge movement naturally attracted a lot of attention very quickly. However, many people stopped doing anything extra after seeing the legendary Sannin who had disappeared for 5 years. They just discussed with each other with curious faces. A. Does anyone know what the situation is? B. I know. Someone is pretending to be Tsunade to smear the 4th generation project. No, now I know about it. Not even the body is left. How miserable. C. Even so, there is no need to get so angry, right? This is digging 3 feet into the ground. No, already digging 300 feet into the ground. Ding, I have inside information. Do you want to hear it? Actually, that's the case. Tsunade has been secretly in love with our Hokage-sama. These people are forcing themselves to be stupid, bad, and overestimate their abilities. He actually used Tsunade to attack the 4th generation. Isn't this like lighting a lantern in the toilet and seeking death? It doesn't matter whether you fight or not, but what if it affects the relationship of the young couple? Just talk nonsense. B. That's right, that's Tsunade-sama, one of the Sannin. C. I don't think it's possible. There are already so many wives in the 4th generation. Ding. Forget it if you don't believe me. Anyway, what I said is true. Otherwise, how could I explain that Tsunade-sama would be so angry? In the video, a group of people gathered together and communicated enthusiastically. The fire of 8 trigrams is burning brightly, which makes you feel happy. The picture scroll was suddenly in chaos at this moment, because there was a boss with a very honest avatar who made a comment on what a few people were discussing. Ninja World Senju Hashirama, undead. I prove that what the white-haired guy said is true. Ninja World Senju Tobarama, undead, brother, forget it. I also testify that Tsunade was jealous of the child named Mikoto before. Ninja World Senju Buddha Room, dead soul, Hashirama's granddaughter? She's pretty good. If you really like her, go for it. Ninja World Uzumaki Mido, undead, Tsunade. Grandma secretly told you that for creatures like men, you have to... Do you understand? Probably because I heard about the demise of the Senju clan. Seeing this energetic Tsunade now, I felt inexplicably happy. Or maybe it's simply the emotion, nostalgia, and expectations for young love. As soon as I saw signs of love in Tsunade, in an instant, a lot of old antiques from the Senju clan were exploded, and they all expressed their opinions. Later, even the Senju from the original ninja world participated enthusiastically, each one more excited than the other. Tsunade herself, who offended 2 ninjas, had black lines all over her head. Return to video. Facing a legendary ninja like Tsunade with a very special identity and status, most people chose to watch. Only Jiraiya and Orochimaru stepped forward and asked with worried faces, "Tsunade, what happened?" As teammates, they immediately noticed clearly that something was wrong with Tsunade's state just now, almost as if he was completely crazy, only knowing violent destruction and crazy killing. So much so that all the enemies were dead, still venting their anger towards the ground. The 3 have known each other for decades, and this is the first time they have seen Tsunade like this. No matter how angry I was in the past, I still maintained the most basic rationality and would not be completely dominated by emotions. You 2 follow me. Tsunade snorted. I don't know why, the moment I saw these 2 people, the calmness that had been restored in my heart turned out to be the urge and sign of losing control again. Soon after, deep in the forest of death, Tsunade suddenly got violent and knocked Jiraiya to the ground with one punch. He shouted and asked in succession, "Why didn't you tell me? Why? Am I so untrustworthy? During the decisive battle with Hanzo, did I ever flinch even a little bit? Yes? Or do you think I want to be a piece of shit like 5th generation?" Tsunade got angrier and angrier as she talked. Until the end, I couldn't help crying. The feeling of grievance is beyond words. On the ground, Jiraiya, who had received a punch in vain, looked confused. Have no idea what the hell is going on. After a while, he tentatively said, "You're talking about the conspiracy of those boys from the Sarutobi family? This shouldn't cause any trouble to the 4th generation, right? Sensei and Danzo are no match for him. How can they influence Uehara? Orochimaru is more straightforward. I asked Uehara to keep them. Some of my experiments not only need to be conducted on living bodies, but also require extremely high-quality materials. Relying solely on prisoners and rebellious ninjas will delay the research progress, and 4th generation will not let me reach out to others." The 2 thought they had explained clearly, but there was no sign of understanding or calmness on Tsunade's face. Instead, there was an unusual shock. "You don't know? You don't know?" "Ah," Tsunade yelled, and the terrifying chakra exploded again. The pagoda foot, which contained overwhelming rage, enveloped both Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Chapter 038. Half a minute later, Orochimaru, who spent a huge amount of chakra to shed his skin, dug out Jiraiya from the ground, who was spitting out blood. The 2 of them also understood at this moment that Tsunade's rage was not because of a few dark little bugs. But there are other more serious things. Did something happen to 4th generation? Orochimaru looked solemn. After so many years, not only Tsunade and Jiraiya, but also his feelings for Uehara Shimei have become extraordinary. Although he calls himself Taoist friend, but in my heart, the fourth generation has long been at the level of a god or a pioneer. His vast capacity, wonderful thoughts, keen eyesight, and understanding of everything in the world always made him suddenly enlightened and surprised. As early as the third generation project period, the constant communication and discussion between the two alone has accelerated the original research progress by an unknown amount. After successfully ascending the Hokage, with the unremitting support of those in power, the achievements and results achieved in the past 5 years are many times greater and stronger than all the previous ones combined. Especially after transferring a lot of unimportant or non-core research to other people, I only focus on key projects, and the depth of my research cannot be compared to before. Compared with the sneaky and solo fighting in the past, it is not a bit better. If something really happened to Uehara Shimei, he would definitely be one of the most anxious and worried people. Orochimaru is worried. As Shimei Uehara's teacher, Jiraiya will certainly not remain indifferent. However, he didn't think that a monster who could practice sage jutsu to perfection at the age of 12 would be defeated casually. Just a little unbelievable. No way? What could happen to a ninja of his level? Tsunade's eyes darkened. He is practicing physical skills in a way that breaks through the limits, the kind that completely breaks the limits, so that all the muscles in his body are completely torn and bleeding. I asked Mikoto privately, once a week, for 3 full years, and never stopped since the physical development was finalized. Wouldn't that consume life force? Jiraiya was suddenly startled, and the expression on Orochimaru's pupils also changed. Many people know the practice method of breaking limits. It is not a secret that body tissues that are destroyed and then restored will be strengthened to a certain extent. But there are only a few who dare to try. The reason is very simple. People who do this generally don't live long. Even in the chaotic warring states period, few people made such a choice. After entering the ninja village era, Danzo was the only one to train his subordinates like this. Uehara doesn't have this need, right? His attainments in ninjutsu, genjutsu, sage jutsu, and even forbidden techniques, sealing techniques, and curse seal techniques are extraordinary. Why is he so obsessed with the body-knocking technique? If you ask me, who should I ask? How did you become a teacher? You haven't discovered such an important thing. If I hadn't suddenly barged in, I don't know how long it would have been hidden. Tsunade, stop blaming Jiraiya. If Uehara-kun wants to hide something, no one else will be able to find it. The most important thing now is to find out what happened and help him solve the problem. Tsunade turned her head and stared at Orochimaru with suddenly sharp eyes. Do you know something? Tell me everything you know, and even if it means death, I will die clearly today. Orochimaru pondered for a moment, then expressed his guess. Shang Yuanjun is very concerned about the nature of chakra. Maybe he discovered something. Of the research tasks issued in the past 5 years, 70% are related to the analysis of the essence of chakra, 20% are about physical skills, and the remaining 10% are other things. In addition, all experiments on the analysis of the essence of chakra, regardless of whether they have produced results or not, are classified as S-class top secrets. Not to mention the results, even the fact that someone is studying chakra itself is strictly prohibited from leaking to the outside world. This is obviously unusual, Orochimaru said, and Jiraiya suddenly became energetic. When you said that, I suddenly remembered something. For a period of time, Uehara's mood seemed very low. Especially when talking about peace-related topics, he was like frost beating an eggplant. He remained silent or changed the subject abruptly. Once, I got extremely drunk. You also know him well. Although this guy likes to drink, he has extraordinary control over himself and will never get drunk. At that time, when I went to comfort him, he asked me a strange question. What? What? He asked me, do you know leaks? After that, there was a good burst of laughter, and then no matter how much I asked, he didn't say a word. I don't know why, but I am very impressed by this incident, and I think about it from time to time. Jiraiya's voice fell. Orochimaru suddenly frowned and murmured to himself. Chakra, leaks, physical skills. Chakra, leaks, physical skills. Chakra, leaks, physical skills? He always felt like something flashed through the depths of his mind just now, but he couldn't catch the trace when he thought about it carefully. A large amount of key information is missing. It is too difficult to deduce the whole picture based on such scraps and scraps, just like a blind man trying to figure out the elephant. If there is a problem with chakra, then physical skills are almost the only way to deal with it, which makes sense. But what's going on with leaks? Is it possible that using chakra to grow leeks will make them grow faster, stronger, and more delicious? Jiraiya also activated his not-so-smart brain and started racking his brains. Tsunade couldn't help but rolled her eyes when she heard this. How could it be so simple? However, as soon as he said these words, Orochimaru's pupils shrank violently in an instant. Then, his whole body began to tremble so violently that he couldn't control himself and collapsed to the ground. His frightened state immediately attracted the attention of the other two people. What's wrong? Orochimaru, what did you think of? Jiraiya is right. Using chakra to cultivate leeks will indeed grow faster, stronger, and more delicious. But the leeks here are not real leeks, but refer to ninjas. The inheritance of ninjas continues from generation to generation. Just like leeks, if you can't cut them all, you can never harvest them. This was the reason why the fourth generation practiced physical skills hard and did not hesitate to waste his life force. He planned to take action against the being who harvested leeks. No, it can't be right. Jiraiya paled. Even though he was as neurotic as he was shocked to the core by Orochimaru's guess at this moment. Tsunade was also doubtful. Treating ninjas as leeks, harvested from generation to generation, is too crazy, too cruel, too terrifying, and too unbelievable. However, Orochimaru completely shattered the two's last struggle with just one word. Do you know the reincarnation of Dirty Land? Chapter 039. Do you know the reincarnation of Dirty Land? Orochimaru's words were like a flash of lightning exploding in the dark and silent night sky. Suddenly, the pupils of the other two people suddenly shrank. It was almost exactly the same as Orochimaru's reaction before. His whole body was trembling violently, and there were large beads of sweat on his forehead. As a disciple of the legendary Sannin and Hokage, Tsunade is also the princess of the Senju clan. So of course they know about the existence of reincarnation. This technique can not only summon the undead from the underworld to the living world and resurrect them in physical form, and with almost immortality and unlimited chakra, it is one of the most evil S-level forbidden arts. In the past, the two of them didn't feel anything was wrong. After all, chakra has been passed down for thousands of years, and countless geniuses and outstanding figures have been born during this period. Heroes of all generations have continued to enrich and strengthen this system. It can be said that there are many weird ninjutsu forbidden techniques, seals and seals. However, at this moment, with Orochimaru's words, Tsunade and Jiraiya only felt a thick chill deep in their hearts, which was gushing out, as if they were about to completely submerge themselves. What could be a better proof than the reincarnation of filthy soil that ninjas are actually leeks cultivated in nurseries by certain beings? The evidence is solid, and there is nothing left to chance. Not only Sannin, as Orochimaru presented his speculations and evidence to everyone. The minds of almost all ninjas in the two ninja worlds suddenly went blank. It was still very active before, with all kinds of speculations and barrage on the dust. At this moment, it completely disappeared and fell into some strange silence. Even Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Madara, Uzumaki Ashina, and Hyuga Tennin, who are super powerful at the highest level of super shadows, were speechless for a while. Because even they have never considered this possibility. Faced with this kind of horrific incident that is extremely unbelievable and shocking at the same time, don't know how to evaluate it at all. As the primates of all things, ninjas who always consider themselves to be the masters of the world, and who also feel superior among humans, want to make a rebuttal. But even if I searched my entire mind completely, I couldn't find any suitable reason at all. It took a few seconds before someone had the courage to eat the first crab. Fake, right? Perhaps Orochimaru guessed wrong. After all, the fourth generation himself has not been confirmed yet. How is that possible? Are you kidding? This kind of thing is too whimsical. If all this is true, how strong will the enemy Hokage-sama will face? Could that person be the legendary Sage of Six Paths? The history of ninjas has existed for thousands of years. Doesn't that mean there are people who have lived from thousands of years ago to now? Original Uchiha Madara, undead. I probably know why the other me is so afraid of you. You are a genius and even a madman. Regardless of whether it is true or not, just by daring to make such a guess, Uehara Shimei, your ability has surpassed mine. Original Senju Tobarama, undead. This ninja named Orochimaru has some qualities that are no less than mine. He is a different kind of genius. Monkey, accepting Sannin as your disciple is probably the only way I, as a teacher, can express my affirmation to you. Ninja World Senju Hashirama, undead. it seems that remarkable people did appear in later generations. Ninja World Uzumaki Mito, Undead. The Uzumaki clan had a taboo sealing technique used to summon Shinigami, called the Ghoul Seal, which could directly seal the enemy's soul. But at the same time, as a caster, after completing this technique, his soul will also be swallowed by Shinigami. Anger, fear, shock, sadness, worry, doubt. There is no doubt that at this moment, everyone's mood swings are extremely intense. After a moment of silence, there was a rebound that was several times more violent than before. Not only in the ninja world, but also in other places, some characters with special status. When he saw Shimei Uehara actually targeting a being above the ninja, he couldn't help but be shocked by his courage and boldness. Two netherworlds and a pair of Sage of Six Paths both looked confused. What the hell? Aren't you pursuing world peace? Why did you suddenly find out about me? He is indeed the master of Hades, right? Even the underworld itself was created by him, using his own heavenly control. But before that, except for a few that are too special, the souls in this world, regardless of whether they are strong or weak, will dissipate directly after death. You can't throw this blame away from yourself no matter what, right? Some unknown alien space. Otsutsuki Ishiki breathed a sigh of relief, and a strange smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Just now, he almost thought that Uehara Shiming's target was him. After all, taijutsu, sage jutsu, sealing techniques, time and space techniques, this guy's abilities are too specific to Otsutsuki. Now it seems that he is probably targeting Otsutsuki Hagoromo. Wonderful, really wonderful. The reason why he has been hiding here and not daring to go out, in addition to having to find a suitable container for reincarnation, there is also the fear of the Sage of Six Paths still lingering in the underworld. This old guy is very sinister. Even Kaguya was plotted against him back then. Who knows what other tricks he might have hidden behind him. In the moon, Otsutsuki Kaguya, who was regarded as the ancestor of chakra, he looked a little worried. She herself is not afraid of Shimei Uehara. Even if she reaches the peak of her physical skills that may target Otsutsuki, she is still an ant in her eyes. However, if such a person exists in the ninja world, his plan to unblock and resurrect may be delayed for an unknown amount of time. It seems that everyone has been hit hard. The current ninja world, over Konoha, Uehara Shiming looked at the empty scroll and sighed slightly. He admitted that the ultimate move he used was indeed a little bit too powerful. For many ordinary or weak-minded ninjas, this is almost like a bolt from the blue. But at that time, it was to target Tsunade and Sannin. As an undoubted Kaga-level powerhouse, he has the resounding reputation of being the best medical ninja in the ninja world. In terms of identity, she is also the princess of Konoha and Fire Country, and there are two Hokage grandfathers plus a Hokage teacher and a Hokage nephew. Can trivial things touch the hearts of such people? And if her psychological defense line cannot be completely and thoroughly penetrated in an instant, any other clever or not clever methods will only scratch the surface and not have much effect. I am not Hiruzen Sarutobi. Is it possible that I can still perform surgery with a rope tree? As a time traveler, in a sense, he can even be regarded as a big time traveler. He is also somewhat proud and cannot resort to such despicable and disgusting methods. However, Shimei Uehara did not say anything to comfort everyone, because in the next plot, he will comfort Tsunade. At that time, everyone will naturally feel better. Chapter 040. Video continues. Just when Sannin was in panic and horror, behind them, a gentle woman wearing a classic secretary OL outfit suddenly appeared. Surprisingly, it was Uchiha Mikoto, Uehara Shimei's special secretary. Mikoto's expression was gloomy. His jade eyes were weeping. He was obviously very sad, but he looked pitiful, very endearing. She held up a hardcover scroll with a brown back in both hands. On the top, the two arrogant Chinese characters, Tenju, with Uehara's characteristics, were clearly visible. Not long after, Mikoto came to Sannin, bowed deeply and said, "This may be of some use to you. Please help Master Hokage. I don't want him to die. Please." As he spoke, tears rolled down again like broken beads. When they saw what Mikoto was holding, the three of them were slightly startled. Although the content of the scroll is not known yet, just these two words seem to have a magnificent and heroic spirit emanating from it. Heavenly game. Is it a chess game against the sky? Or is it a layout as unsolvable as the sky? Tsunade's eyes were shocked. She grabbed the scroll with her hand and immediately opened it to read. And everyone under the scroll also followed Tsunade to read this bizarre story. There was a chess fanatic in Shizhuang, and everyone called him Chaos. He is confused about everything except Grandmaster Go. The walking stumbles and slants. It is said that he is walking on a chess grid, and every step is a unique move. Chaos is indeed a weirdo. As a child, a lame old-school teacher taught him Go. Disaster struck from heaven, and my husband starved to death. Chaos went deep into the mountains and wilds to grow on its own, drank from mountain springs, fought ferocious beasts, fought in heaven and earth, and became a strong man on his own. That chess piece was actually made by nature. It seems that there is a huge natural brute force which often stirs up violent storms on the chessboard, leaving opponents stunned and stunned. In particular, he is good at using the suppressing Godhead move, which has a killing power rarely seen in the world, and is extremely vicious when used to fight. No matter how solid the fortress is, he will rush and attack it until it is completely destroyed. Tianjia, originally a vigorous short story, has also been plagiarized by time travelers because of its grandeur and unique meaning. Especially the last 4 words, Shangtian Banzi. Every time it appears, everyone is shocked. Countless senior colleagues have used this to pretend to be incompetent in the outside world. Shimei Uehara also made some adaptations to it. Regardless of the imagination or the meaning it represents, the heavenly situation can be said to be shocking to the gods and ghosts. The only thing is that the description of the protagonist's chess skills in the book is not exaggerated enough. How can a mere foil of a retired national player embody the lofty realm and madness of a man who is playing chess with the sky? He not only arranged a series of extraordinary opponents for chaos, it also borrows the philosophy of the 5 realms of swordsmanship from the book Sword Demon Duguchyo by Jinyo. Sharp sword, soft sword, heavy sword, wooden sword, and no sword. Integrated into the chess game. Let chaos continue to grow in the book, and finally the chess power reaches an unpredictable heaven-defying state. The first level, sharp sword. The style of chess is fierce, violent, and invincible. This is naturally understood when fighting fierce beasts in the mountains and wilderness. Before the weak crown of chaos, he used it to compete with the heroes of the world, achieved his first achievement, founded a sect, and formed a line of his own. The second level, soft sword. He specializes in taking treacherous paths, and there are ambushes all over the chessboard. He often breaks out from unexpected places and wins with one blow. Before the age of 30, Chaos relied on it to run rampant across the world, defeating all heroes and enemies, and achieved his second achievement, becoming invincible in the world. The third level, heavy sword. A heavy sword has no edge, and a heavy sword has no skill. The chess skills are already perfect, and the weight is lifted with ease, without showing any sharpness. In the chess game, a strong man builds a stronghold and fights stupidly. He only cultivates his internal strength and ignores his opponents. A gentleman hides his weapons and waits for the time to move. He is good at using his majestic power to overwhelm his opponent, and no matter how strange his opponent's moves are, he can only be crushed to pieces. Entering the Tao in a chaotic dream, playing chess with ghosts and gods, defeating all the masters of chess in the past, and achieving the third achievement, invincibility in the 3 realms. The fourth level, wooden sword. It doesn't matter what it is. Plants, trees, bamboos, and rocks can all be used as swords. At this time, it no longer mattered about the style of chess. Any moves could be picked up at your fingertips and deployed freely. You could only use the most correct response method according to the current situation. Since then, I have practiced intensively and gradually reached the point where I can win without any moves, but with one move at a time. There is no rival in the world, and Hun Chao feels deeply lonely, so he has no choice but to live in seclusion in a deep valley and play chess with himself. Achieve the fourth achievement, unite people and chess, and surpass yourself. Fifth level, no sword. People and chess unite and return to nature. The moves no longer stick to tricks, adapt to changes, murderous potential is invisible, and new moves are constantly flowing. The chess game contains endless changes and infinite possibilities, which are so unpredictable that even the secrets can be calculated, turning the 3-foot chessboard into your own world. At this moment, the chaos and chess skills have reached an incredible and incomprehensible state. Reaching the 5th achievement, the end of the road, with no further progress. At this time, he said a famous saying, "I am invincible against the human world. If I don't fight against heaven, who will I fight against?" Chaos drew his sword towards the sky. No, he was setting the stage for heaven to play chess. Tsunade unfolded the scroll while reading. The scroll almost completely reflected her perspective, completely projecting the content above. As Tsunade continued to read and unfold the scroll, countless viewers from the 2 ninja worlds gradually became immersed in this story. They did not yet realize the true connotation of the story and the huge impact of the last scene. But even if it's just chaos challenging the world's chess masters, entering the Tao in a dream to play chess with ghosts and gods, and setting up a game to invite the sky to play chess, it's exciting enough. Especially the sentence, "I am invincible against the world, and I will not fight against anyone else unless I fight against heaven." It was full of force in an instant and made countless people feel passionate. However, just when everyone's attention was focused on the content of the scroll, someone suddenly reminded on the barrage. "Look at the trees in front of you." Someone followed the guidance of the barrage and cast their gaze over. I saw, in the peripheral vision of Tsunade's perspective, and in the narrow gap outside the space occupied by the content of the scroll, a figure stood impressively. Shimei Uehara crossed his arms and stood on the treetops in the air, his robes fluttering gently in the breeze. This scene made many ninjas feel horrified. As a profession that inherently operates in darkness, reconnaissance and intelligence capabilities are almost the lifeline and specialty of ninjas. Even if he is an ordinary ninja, even if he does not have the ability to perceive, as long as there is any slightest movement in the surroundings, including smells, sounds, changes in light, abnormal disturbances in the air, fluctuations emitted by the human body itself, and even the mysterious sixth sense, it will be instantly detected. However, at this moment, Shimei Uehara appeared openly in front of Sannin. None of the three of them felt anything was wrong, and they still looked down at the scroll. As a veteran movie star, Sannin is obviously not weak, and his vigilance is not bad. The only thing that can explain this strange situation is that Shimei Uehara is so strong that it is completely beyond another level. Although everyone already knew that he was very strong, but the impact of this scene still made many ninjas shudder. Chapter 041. Now, many people have gradually recovered from the huge shock of ninjas are leaks, and the barrage has become active again. When he discovered that Shimei Uehara had appeared in front of Sannin at some point, some people even kept playing tricks and posting barrages in an attempt to remind the four people in the video to pay attention to their surroundings. Tsunade, look up quickly. Your conspiracy has been discovered. Videos are all in the past tense, and barrages cannot travel through time and space. Everyone just looked at Uehara Shimei watching Tsunade and the others reading the scroll. As Tsunade continued, the second half of the story, which was also the most exciting and shocking part, gradually began to unfold in front of everyone's eyes. After inviting Tion to play chess, Hun Chaos actually fell into a trance. In the mist, it seemed as if I saw a strange place. What's even more weird and unusual is that no matter what you see, you will completely forget it in the next moment. There is only a blank in your mind, and you can't recall anything. All I know is that there are countless brilliant lights filling the air, which is extremely shocking. I don't know how long has passed, maybe a second, maybe even the world has changed. A chessboard formed out of thin air in front of Chaos, but strangely there was no chess piece on it. The chessboard grid is crisscrossed, as if reality, existence, time and space, yin and yang, life and death, heaven, earth, humans, gods and ghosts are completely enveloped in it, and contains endless mysteries and truths. This is called the mysterious and mysterious, the door of many wonderful things. A sentence came out of nowhere in his chaotic mind, unnamed. The beginning of heaven and earth, named, the mother of all things. With a flash of inspiration, he threw out the killing move, suppressing Godhead that he learned when he was young fighting wild beasts in the mountains, and took the lead in occupying the star position in the lower right corner. In the next moment, a white stone condensed on the chessboard, and it actually occupied the Tianyuan position. Go has always been about fighting for every inch of territory, and the so-called subtleties are all in it. Especially the chess pieces on the four-pointed star position, which can be advanced, attacked, retreated, or defended, have always been strategic points that military strategists must compete for. So much so that there is a saying that the golden horns are silver-edged and the belly of grass is the same. Seeing this completely unreasonable move, Huan Chao was shocked in his heart. In terms of chess theory alone, he clearly had an advantage, but he still had a bad feeling. For the second move, Huan Chao thought for a long time, but still chose to occupy the star position and try his best to strengthen his own power first. Both sides made moves like flying. Soon, the chess move reached the 16th position, and the two men exchanged hand-to-hand combat, and the fighting began. White's chess flew over Black's lower right corner, and chaos resolutely broke through. The white chess and the black chess are each divided into two parts. The four dragons are coiled around each other, rushing to the left and right along the edge. The war raged on, and the fighting was extremely fierce. Chaos sometimes desperately grabs a white chess piece, suppresses it, and pursues it fiercely. Sometimes it turns into a trickle, quietly flowing, penetrating, and lurking in the enemy's formation. Sometimes it is like an antelope hanging its horns, with no trace to be found at all. When chess is played in his situation, every move is a clever move, and every move is a master move, a ghost move, or a divine move. Every time you make a move, there are countless considerations. Simple and unpretentious, yet completely natural, with hidden murderous intentions, it can be said that the situation is completely calculated. But the other party seems to be willing to give in too much. He moves smoothly and freely, with profound steps and fierce moves. The victory or defeat was always within a breath. The fight between the two sides was extremely fierce and exciting. As long as any party is careless in the slightest, it will immediately be doomed and destroyed. On the 180th, Chaos took the lead in launching a general attack. The offensive was like an overwhelming force, with soaring anger and murderous intent in every move. It was so majestic that it destroyed everything. White ignores his own position and concentrates on killing the black dragon. It's like two warriors standing on the edge of a cliff, each pulling out his gleaming sword and starting a life-and-death duel. Neither side defended themselves, allowing the other to slash at their own bodies while stabbing at the other's vitals more ferociously. It's not a gentle game, it's a bloody fight. He is both brave and resourceful, and can use all possible means to do anything. After another 180 moves, the white chess piece killed Chaos's black dragon, and Chaos also occupied the previous white formation. The world has changed, times have changed, and there has been a complete change of homes. The two sides exchanged positions, but they were still evenly matched, and the victory or defeat all depended on the officials. At this time, the chaotic chess theory is exhausted, and there is no more pieces to play. But he did not give up, but instead threw in all the national players, ghosts and gods who had played against him before. Humans, ghosts, and gods all unite to fight against the unfathomable heaven. Seeing this, both Sannin in the video and countless heroes from all over the world outside the video were all in extreme shock. With ghosts and gods as sons, they play chess with the same sky and still do not lose. This kind of thing, let alone the ninja world with a lack of culture, even in another world. As long as it is written wonderfully, it can still arouse countless emotions. On the chessboard, the fighting continues. Especially after the two sides changed formations, the situation became obviously more complicated. It's all about me and you. Every time you make a move, there are more things to calculate and consider than the last time. However, instead of shrinking back and fearing, Hun Chaos became even more energetic. There is no time in the void. After an unknown amount of time, the decisive opportunity finally came. The outcome is only half a piece, and it all depends on a calamity in the lower right corner. The so-called calamity means that the two sides are intertwined. When I eat one of your pieces, I will also leave an eye for you, giving the other party a chance to eat one of my pieces. This is also called mutual promotion. According to the rules of Go, when this situation occurs, the party being our ****D must first make a move elsewhere and force the other party to respond before it can capture a piece. This hand is very crucial. If the moves you make elsewhere do not threaten the opponent and are not enough for the opponent to respond in the same way, then the opponent will strike first and you will lose. This elsewhere that can threaten the other party and force the other party to respond in the same way is also called a robbery material. There is no victory or defeat in the tribulation itself, because it can cycle back and forth. You eat me, and I eat you, and it goes on and on. The key to victory or defeat lies in the calamity materials both sides possess. Whoever has more robbery materials can cycle the robbery one more time and win the final victory. The chaotic dragon is dead but not frozen, and it becomes the perfect calamity material at this time. The heaven was forced to respond hand in hand until it was exhausted. The remnants of the white chess pieces in the black array also made a riot, causing chaos and chaos. You brought it up to each other, and I brought it back, and we kept fighting over it. As the amount of robbery material available to both sides continues to decrease, the situation gradually becomes clearer. Chaos is a scholar of heaven, and he already knows in his heart that he is going to win. But he also understood that the victory in this game was not due to the difference in chess strength, but the natural disadvantage of the opponent's first-hand Tianyuan. However, just when Heaven's calamity materials were completely exhausted and it was no longer enough to contain chaos, it was time to attack Jia. A huge white sun suddenly appeared outside the chessboard. This time, the disadvantage of Tianyuan suddenly became an advantage. The robbery of the sky was one more step than the chaos, and the situation suddenly turned. A good game of chess is about to be lost in this disaster. The chaos only felt that there was blood rushing towards the head, and the masculinity was forced to make a black hair in. He burst out laughing. Fighting against heaven is endless fun. Fighting against earth is endless fun. Fighting against humans is endless fun. Immediately, he pushed the golden mountain, overturned the jade pillar, hit the white piece outside the chessboard, knelt on the ground, and suppressed the last eye. The sky suddenly showed strange images, countless stars twinkled, and a chaotic figure suddenly appeared in the depths of the starry sky. There are stargazers in the world who watch the stars at night. See the stars in the sky, both dark and bright, separated like chess pieces, just like a game of Go. Looking closely at this scene, we can see that the conception is unique. The calculations are exquisite, the majesty is majestic, and the universe is grand. It is indeed a great work that has never been seen in his life. The mountains are towering, standing around the chessboard. The sky is long and blue, with thick clouds hanging down, and there are eagles circling the mountain streams, roaring and shrill. The stargazer was shaken physically and mentally, and stood solemnly for a long time. Everyone around him was puzzled when they saw his strange expression, and asked one after another, "What is Hun Chaos doing?" Answer: "Play chess. The starry sky is lonely. Who can I play chess with?" The stargazer was silent. After a long time, one word came out heavily: "Heaven." The common people have a superficial understanding and chatter and ask, "Did you win or lose?" Stargazers count carefully. Count to the lower right corner, and see the calamity that determines victory or defeat. Chaos Chung knelt on the ground and acted as a sunspot, just to win the victory. Stargazers revere the spirit of chaos and are passionate about it. He held his hands with his hands and raised his hands, shouting the mountains and wildness. Forestry creepy, Shungan Banzi. Author's note: I'm sorry, everyone, I couldn't stop it for a while. This part seems a bit self-indulgent. Please just watch it, it won't affect the plot. Chapter 042. Shungtian Banzi. When the scroll is fully unfolded, these 4 words finally appear on the scroll. Almost all the audience, even people like Sage of Six Paths, Otsutsuki Ishiki and Otsutsuki Kagaya who feel superior, there seem to be a thunder in my heart. It seems to have some kind of heaven-defying magic power, making everyone who sees it feel shocked and their expressions completely out of control. Because the spirit represented by these 4 words is really too grand. Especially after the blessing of the previous plot, this kind of shock and touching of the mind has reached an indescribable level. Even describing it as shocking and touching is a bit inappropriate, because their previous outlook on life, values, and worldview have been completely torn apart and torn to pieces, and then forcefully poured into them things that are 100 times more terrifying and vast than before. Like an ancient savage who suddenly came to a prosperous city, that kind of mood cannot be accurately described in words and words. Tsunade and the other 3 were completely stunned on the spot, as if they were under a restraining spell, unable to move for a long time. The performance of other people under the scroll is also very different. When shock or other emotions are intense to a certain extent, the expression will not be so exaggerated. Because the brain has almost lost its ability to think and respond, it is commonly known as being absent-minded or losing its soul. It's no wonder they behave like this. The culture of the ninja world is really lacking. An important consequence of lack of culture is that the vast majority of people, including many people in power at the top who think they are well-informed, have very limited vision and knowledge. If in the past life, any adult with normal IQ saw this story, even if it was the first time, he would never behave so badly. Because they have already seen the same or even higher level things in other novels, movies, animations, games, fairy tales, etc. Countless authors, screenwriters, and planners have worked hard and racked their brains in order to make a small amount of money out of the pockets of viewers or readers. The 8 immortals crossed the sea, each showing his magical powers. After you sing, I will appear. In the end, 100 flowers bloomed, and the garden was filled with spring colors, dazzling and dazzling. And the more similar things you see, you will naturally develop a kind of immunity. They will even judge you with great interest. Great author, you are not good at this, but so-and-so's writing is much better than yours, and they just triple X. Once upon a time, there was no water in the sea, except for Wushan. It was not a cloud. This is the feeling of someone with enough knowledge and vision to look at new things. The vision is narrow, and only a person with 1 acre of 3 points under his feet see things and things outside the scope of understanding. All we have to do is look up to the mountains and worship sincerely. The first time is always the most precious and the most unforgettable. The foundation of the ninja world is destined to make it difficult for even the smartest, most open-minded, and most knowledgeable ninja to escape. Can you believe it? Jiraiya's strong perseverance and endurance are already among the few cultural representatives. Therefore, when everyone saw a story that was considered very good and grand in a certain blue star, they were completely captured by the huge shock and touch from the depths of their souls. Like those previous banners and calligraphy works, this is not a victory for Shimei Uehara, but a victory for civilization. The most important thing is that Uehara Shimei had already put forward the concept of ninjas are actually leaks before this. This story also contains some profound meaning and direction. Shangtian Banzi is no longer simply the ending of a plot, but also represents the unyielding and fighting spirit of mankind that vows not to be slaves. It's a declaration. It is a letter of challenge. It is a kind of courage. At this moment, in the hearts of almost everyone, Shimei Uehara is no longer on the same level as himself or even everyone he knows. He is bound to this declaration, this challenge, this courage. If everyone's previous influences on him were the excellent Hokage, the powerful ninja, the lecher, etc., so at this moment, all other titles recede one by one, leaving only one: the man who wants to beat half the world. Also at this moment, many people in the ninja world finally understand why Shimei Uehara can break the restrictions between people, villages, and countries, and why he is so popular and trusted. His magnanimity is truly so great that everyone who knows him is deeply moved by him. It is an impulse that is willing to die for it, and still has no regrets until death. Although life is important, but if it is for such a great cause, why not die for such a lofty person? At this moment, everyone also remembered the evaluation of some people in ninja before. Conan said, "I have never seen a smarter existence than Shangharajan." Yuhi Kurenai said, "No matter what difficulties and dangers we face, we will never stop, move forward courageously, and do what we say. This is the fourth generation we admire." Terumi Amii said, "If you have not been close to that man, you can't understand it at all." Yitsong said, "Those who cannot agree with the greatness of Uehara Shimei are all fools in this world. He can show the most brutal and obscene side of his heart in front of anyone without reservation, including those he respects, loves, and even admires and dreams of. He admits that he is such a person and looks forward to your forgiveness. But it is precisely because of this that what he pursues and expects seems so precious and worthy of belief. Unlike some dirty people who do one thing on the surface and another behind the scenes, I believe they don't even know how they died in the end." Noera Rin said, "Although it sounds a little incredible, this is Hokage-sama who is truly trusted and followed by everyone." Uchiha Mikoto said, "Never before has so many ninjas, so many forces, and even countries been able to unite and move toward one goal. Never before." At that time, although many people didn't say anything, only they knew whether they were dissatisfied in their hearts, because almost everyone was praising this man in every possible way. But now, they also have the same feeling in their hearts. In fact, the reason why Uehara Shimei is described in this way is not that he only deserves such praise, but just because his language skills are not up to standard and he cannot imagine a better adjective. There was also a brief silence, followed by a barrage of violent rebounds. Countless shocks and praises swarmed in, almost drowning the entire picture. If this is the case, I am willing to follow him and dedicate everything that belongs to me. Ordinary men are lustful, but if it's Shimei Uehara, he probably just can't bear to reject other girls, right? After all, it is natural for a person like him who is handsome, powerful, has great ideals, and has a charming personality to attract girls, right? Actually, we don't know that Lord Hokage has such a plan. He has already fully gained everyone's recognition just by virtue of his performance as Hokage. Yes, if there were no comparison video of the world's will, I'm afraid we wouldn't know until our death that Master Hokage is actually greater than everyone imagined before. Shangtian Banzi, his courage is truly unimaginable. Even a great man like Uehara Shimei was so angry that he was forced to go to the Hokage building to kill him. This shows how vicious and inhuman Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo are. There is no need for Uehara Shimei to kill the Hokage building. Facing such a talent, he did not entrust him with such an important task. It is already selfish and incompetent. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Shimura Danzo. No, what does it have to do with us? We didn't appear in this plot at all. Also, which one of you has seen that he was forced? He has obviously been sharpening his knife for a long time, right? Chapter 043. While everyone on the barrage was expressing their admiration in the video, Sannin also gradually recovered from the huge shock. And when they turned their attention away from the scroll, of course they also saw Uehara shimming on the treetop not far away. Uehara-kun, do you want to use that technique? Orochimaru looked slightly complicated. He quickly thought that what was recorded on this scroll was much more than just a simple story. Everything in it should be meaningful and representative. If my previous guess was correct, or the fourth generation project also guessed the same, I think there really is something that treats the ninja world as a nursery and ninjas as leeks, harvesting them generation after generation. There is no doubt that the heaven in the story refers to this existence. However, compared to the clues left by the things that harvested the ninja world, the sky in the story is not described too much. As for chaos, I am invincible in the human world. If I don't fight with heaven, who will I fight with? The answer is also obvious. Uehara Shimei himself. Regardless of the level of talent, or the size, structure, wisdom, and bravery, their Hokage-sama, compared to what was described in the plot, is not only not weaker at all, but even slightly better. When Hun Chao was a boy, he founded a sect and established a sect of his own. He was invincible until he was 30 years old. Shimei Uehara could no longer find an opponent before he turned 18. Under the light escape, all living beings are equal. As long as they are still flesh and blood, they are simply unable to resist. Chaos entered Taoism in a dream and played chess with ghosts and gods. There are also reincarnations in the ninja world, so it is not difficult to bring out a few undead souls. The only thing is that with the current strength of the fourth generation, even among the undead that have accumulated for thousands of years, there are probably only a few who can truly match it. There is indeed a heaven in the ninja world, and Master Hokage also compares himself to chaos. Naturally, the final game against Yaotian and Shungtian Banzi were not just casual remarks. Orochimaru quickly thought of Uehara Shimei, a nobleman who was second only to Jiraiya when he was a child, and even met Jiraiya 2 years earlier, Mat Dai. It is said that this man masters a forbidden technique, 8 Gates Duenjia, which costs his life but can increase his power dozens or hundreds of times in an instant. In this way, it is almost self-evident what Shungtian Banzi represents. Not only Orochimaru, but Tsunade and Jiraiya also quickly thought of this. Because their Hokage-sama is currently practicing hard in physical skills, and it uses the ancient and cruel method of breaking limits regardless of the cost. Compared with Orochimaru's complicated mood, Tsunade and Jiraiya only had regret and intolerance in their eyes. Especially Tsunade, after realizing her own intentions, she almost doesn't hide it now. Facing Orochimaru's question with almost 90% certainty, Uehara Shimei immediately nodded without hesitation. This was originally planned by him, and he wanted a few people to guess the answer. There was nothing to be fussy about. However, after truly confirming Uehara Shimei's answer, Orochimaru hesitated. Uehara-kun, is it really possible to achieve that level of taijutsu? As soon as he opened his mouth, Tsunade Jiraiya and Uchiha Mikoto, the 4 of them almost unanimously cast doubtful and inquiring eyes over him. Outside the scroll, a large number of other ninjas, and even many top experts had the same expression. At this moment, the 4th battle has not even started, and the highlight moment of King Kai kicking half of 6 paths to pieces has not yet happened. Many people simply don't have a clear idea of the upper limit that physical skills can truly reach. In their impression, only ordinary civilians who are not good at ninjutsu and jinjutsu will delve into taijutsu as a last resort when they have no choice. In ninja battles, especially after reaching a certain level, the role played by pure physical skills is indeed better than nothing. Just looking at the strong men in physical arts, it can be imagined that except for Mat Dai and his son, there are almost no names. The ninja world also has star effect, and skills and people often achieve mutual success. Tsunade and Reikage are both ninjutsu, but in essence they are still based on ninjutsu, which is not the same concept at all. Cultivation is difficult, consumes a lot of resources, costs a lot, grows slowly, and has little effect. This is the impression that most ninjas have on taijutsu at this time. Even though Mat Dai of the original ninja world made the 7 ninja swordsmen into the 3 lucky treasures, there was still not much change. First of all, the death of the so-called 7 ninja swordsmen was too frustrating and hasty. Not long after he came out of the closed Kirigakure Village, he hit the iron plate before he could really achieve a good result. The shock caused is far less exaggerated than the actual effect. Everyone does admire Mat Dai, But most of them doubt the strength of the 7 ninja swordsmen and naturally have an illusion in their hearts. Could this thing be a parallel import with a silver pewter tip? And the latter feeling is definitely stronger than the former. In addition to this, another important reason is that the efforts and gains are not directly proportional. Among ninjutsu, genjutsu, secret techniques, and blood succession limits, there are not many that can achieve the same results. Why take the trouble when there are other options? On the treetop, Shimei Uehara looked at the faces of the 4 people. After being slightly stunned, he then laughed at himself. It seems that many people have completely forgotten what I originally relied on to start my business. As soon as he said these words, Sanin's expression suddenly froze. Uchiha Mikoto even lowered his head quietly. He didn't know what he thought of, but his face turned rosy inexplicably. Under the scroll, many ninjas who went to school with him in the current ninja world also recalled a painful past that they couldn't bear to look at. At that time, no matter whether he was fighting or fighting, Uehara Shimei could only use one move, which was to slap. After the battle begins, relying on the superb speed of 8 gates, before you can react at all, it will rush in front of you and deliver a powerful blow that is very damaging and even more insulting. Simple yet crude. No matter how you resist, if you all use the phantom blood-stained secret technique of the ninja body, there will only be one result, and that is a big fight. The only difference is how many blows you will receive. Many 6th graders were beaten to the point of doubting their lives, and some even cried on the spot. This was also the first time someone became famous and had his first title. Even now, horror stories about the slap maniac are still circulating on campus. While several people were stunned, Shimei Uehara spoke again and explained. Although I can blast the 3rd generation item on ninjutsu, I can instantly kill Sharingan on genjutsu. I have perfect sage art. I also learned how to fly the Thunder God, develop the blood successor to eliminate light escape, and I also know a thing or two about sideline things like ceiling seals. But what is truly the best and most powerful is physical skills from beginning to end. This will not change even in another 20 years. The reason why you feel that physical skills are weak is simply because you are not good at it. It has nothing to do with the physical skills system. On the contrary, if you want to talk about the upper limit, apart from the direct bloodline of Sage of 6 Paths, only physical skills are really qualified and may aspire to be the strongest. As soon as Uehara Shimei said these words, Sanin immediately fell silent. The viewers who watched the video didn't know how to evaluate it for a while. Sanin is weak? If you dare to say this, do you want to go up there and try it yourself? Do you believe that you will die if you try it? Do you want to experience Sage Art's fire-style barbecue? Or do you want to be massaged by Susan's weird power? Even Hanzo, who was known as a demigod back then, didn't dare to be so arrogant. But the problem is, Shimei Uehara is one of the few people who is qualified to say that. That's what he said. What can you do? Chapter 44. On the scroll, the video continued, not stopping at all due to the emotional fluctuations of the people. When the screen flashed, Uehara Shimei had appeared on the Hokage rock. This time, he did not wear the extremely handsome Hokage god robe from his previous appearances. Instead, he wears a silver crown and silver-gray 2-color bright armor. A black robe can be seen underneath. If there are any time travelers here, they will definitely see that this is the most handsome and charming Erlang ever dressed up. It has to be said that Shimei Uehara is really good at showing off, and has even integrated the showmanship into his bones. With every move he makes, he inadvertently puts on a show-off, and even the slightest bit of deliberateness cannot be seen. Not only did he completely reproduce the appearance of the armor, he also made improvements on the original appearance. After all, it is impossible to actually use metal for filming TV series, and the texture and taste of plastic are far from enough. As for this armor, every part is completely made of special metals that have been forged thousands of times. When worn on the body, the feeling and momentum are completely different. In this guy's hand, he is also holding a classic Miao knife. Just above First Hokage's head, a set of classic Chinese swordsmanship routines was performed. You can doubt that China's ancient martial arts cannot be beaten, but you can never doubt that it is not handsome or beautiful enough. After all, this thing was used on the battlefield in times of war, but in times of peace it was used on the streets, and many people used it for food and clothing. Juggling and performing are inherently one of the most important functions. The graceful movements, the special rhythm, the changes in speed, hardness and softness, distance and length, coupled with the change of momentum, it can bring great visual enjoyment to people, and it is a level that can raise the upper limit of aesthetics, especially for people who see it for the first time. In fact, Shimei Uehara didn't know much about ancient martial arts in his previous life, but he has watched a lot of martial arts dramas, martial arts-related program performances, and professional bloggers on a certain website. With a strong body, recreating or even enhancing those actions and scenes is a piece of cake. And after Ian's style and spiritual energy reach a certain level, all the memories of the past, if you think about it, can even be accurate to every minute and every second of the shot, without any deviation at all. This set of sword techniques is also made by integrating the essence of countless classic scenes. Tsunade, who was not far away, and the audience in front of the video couldn't help but be fascinated. Everything about this man is so charming that he can't bear to look away even for a second. What do you want from me? Uehara Shimei finished a set of sword skills, casually inserted the long sword on the first generation's head, then sat cross-legged in front of a low table, and casually asked Tsunade next to him, "It's nothing. I just suddenly felt that I didn't understand you well enough before." Uehara Shimei heard this and shook his head. "I have always been who I am, and I have no intention of changing or hiding anything. If someone feels that they don't understand enough, it's definitely not my problem, but the prejudice in her heart. People, sometimes the prejudice in their hearts is like a big mountain. No matter how hard others try, they can't move it. Whatever you do, she will look at it with colored glasses. Because some people are really looking for answers, while some people are looking for excuses and reasons with answers. You can only have one explanation, but she can find 10,000 reasons." Tsunade's eyes trembled slightly. "I don't know why, but I can deal with it calmly no matter how vicious and aggressive the curses are. Only at this moment, I felt like I was suffocating. It was as if he was drowning. Put it in another place. If you are the person who obviously can have power and wealth, live a safe and happy life, but for the sake of the village and the ninja world, you are resolutely prepared to sacrifice your life and fight everything alone. When faced with other people's incomprehension, lack of support, or even opposition, malicious speculation and subterfuge, how disappointed, sad, and uncomfortable one must feel. What have you experienced and endured? That's why people say that prejudice in people's hearts is like a mountain that can never be moved no matter how hard you try. Human beings are creatures that are easily moved by themselves." At this moment, Tsunade was immersed in a state of self-admiration that Uehara Misaki had compiled for her. Endless regret and self-blame welled up from the deepest part of my heart, swallowing up the few moments of clarity. But on the surface, Tsunade still pretended to be calm and said with a smile, "It seems that you really have a grudge against me for running away for 5 years? What do you think? Kushina and Mikoto have already given birth." Tsunade paused. How should she respond to this? But inexplicably, there was a small sense of joy in my heart. This guy is really the same as always. He still remembers things that happened when he was 7 years old and has never changed his original intention. After a moment, he changed the subject. "What is the success rate of what you are going to do?" "I don't know. If everything goes according to my plan and layout, I think I can achieve 30% success." 30%? Tsunade's face became even darker, and her chest felt so stuffy that she felt anxious. Logically speaking, for an existence that is so terrifying that it is almost unimaginable, 30% is already quite high. But not everything can be said logically. Once the 8 gates is activated, death is almost certain. It is a gamble that involves one's life. Even if there is a 100% chance of winning, what good will it do? Tsunade really wanted to speak up and persuade Uehara Samako to give up this dangerous plan, but she couldn't find a suitable reason after racking her brain. He hesitated to speak several times. Finally, a string of tears as big as beans rolled down from his eyes. "Is it wrong to protect the village and save the ninja world? Of course I am not wrong, but I just don't want that person to be Uehara Shimei. It is just my selfishness that is not worth showing off." She wasn't even close to Uehara Shimei, so she didn't even have the identity or logical basis to give him advice. Even if it's the right thing to do, why do you have to do it? So what if some people treat ninjas as leaks? For thousands of years, everyone has been doing this. It's no big deal if they continue to do so, right? Everyone is going to die anyway, and it is impossible to be immortal, so how can death not be death? Maybe, when you defeat that opponent, there won't even be any undead left. Isn't it good to take good care of yourself and your family and live a peaceful and happy life? Uehara Shimei fell silent. Of course, he couldn't really go fight someone to death. He wasn't born that kind of person. Even if we go to save the world, it is because saving the world itself can bring enough benefits, and we have more than enough strength to do it easily. But the mood and atmosphere have reached this point, and it would be unreasonable not to act a little pretentious and reshape the image to be more lofty. He pondered for a long time before uttering the famous saying that later became widely circulated in the ninja world. The crown makes the wearer stand taller than others and is a symbol of status, but its true meaning is, when disaster strikes, I will resist everything for you and always let you see only golden hope. In the history of ninjas and human history, there has never been a lack of such people, right? It is because of them that the times will advance, civilization will evolve, and inheritance seems to carry a sense of mission. If everyone hides and acts like a turtle, after 1,000 years, 10,000 years, the ninja world will still be the same. Just like a windmill that doesn't turn. What's the point of existence and continuation? I have always believed that either we explode in silence or we perish in silence. The killing of the third generation was like this. The suppression of the ninja world was like this. And what will be done tomorrow will also be like this. Chapter 045. Shimei Uehara was leaning forward, half lying on an armchair with legs only as high as his raised palms. The index finger and thumb of his left hand slowly rotated a delicate cyan porcelain cup. The voice was slow and slow. Next to him, there was a set of the same low table and short-legged armchair, and Tsunade was sitting on her knees, somewhat unaccustomed to it. However, her attention was obviously not on these furniture, which were completely different from those in the past in the ninja world. He murmured, "If you don't explode in silence, you will destroy in silence? You really can always say some thought-provoking words." As he said that, his face was suddenly shocked again, and he said in surprise, "So, you are actually worried that if you don't resist immediately, if the opponent keeps accumulating like this, with the strongest men in the past in hand, the ninja world will completely lose hope of defeating the opponent in the future?" Forehead? Is that what I meant? Uehara Shimei was also stunned. Because my memory is outstanding now, a few very philosophical words will come out of my mouth from time to time. It's just to show off, for those beautiful female ninjas to look at me with more admiration and yearning. As for the specific meaning, it actually doesn't matter at all. However, he will not stop others from making up their own minds, because this will make his original plan more fulfilling. Uehara Shimei immediately decided to throw Wang Jia ahead of schedule. He said a little disappointed, "It's already very difficult now. This may be the last chance. Once I die, people will want to defeat me later." Uehara Shimei didn't continue because Tsunade already realized what he meant. His face became very serious as a result. Infer the opponent's combat strength based on the fact that that being can control all the dead souls. Even though he himself has no power to tie a chicken and is a complete scumbag, the difficulty of completing this battle is still ridiculously high, even beyond imagination. Because this is tantamount to facing the joint efforts of all the powerful people who have died in the past 1,000 years. You can imagine how terrifying it is. How many heroes have been born in this entire millennium? No one knows. And it is still unclear whether the strength of these heroes has changed after death and whether they will become stronger. However, this is still not the most difficult time, because there is an anomaly like Uehara Shimei. As Jiraiya's teammate and Kushina's sister, she knew very well how heaven-defying the fourth Hokage next to her was. Not to mention regular ninja illusions, and even sage jutsu and sealing techniques. He can even develop secret techniques with similar abilities based on the bloodline talents of the Uzumaki clan. Kagura's Heart's Eye and Vajra Blockade have already been learned. You know, this is a blood inheritance, and it is generally considered to be inherited only through blood. His biggest trump card, Ninja Technique, Creation Regeneration, 100 Heroes Technique, is also a secret technique developed by this fellow based on his grandfather's natural ability and some joint research and development by sealing techniques. It completely fits her fighting style and habits, and it can be said that it directly improves her upper limit of strength and life-saving ability. Not to mention Light Escape, the initial combination of fire and lightning attributes was already very powerful, and its destructive power was far greater than the use of fire-lightning style alone. During the test, even Orochimaru's strongest defense, the Psychic Rashomon, was blown through. Later, in order to strengthen the long-range attack capability, Wind Escape was added. It can shoot a bright golden beam of light in place, and wherever it sweeps, it will be torn to pieces immediately. Not only is it capable of ultra-long-range attacks as expected, but its power is no less powerful than Anoki's Dust style. Coupled with his exaggerated chakra volume, it is really possible for gods to kill gods and Buddhas to kill Buddhas. If development continues in the future, it is not impossible to add all 5 attributes. And this is not all of Uehara Shimei's abilities. After all, I have known him for so many years, and I know this guy's character very well. He envisions a generation, develops a generation, reserves a generation, and publishes a generation. As long as it is an ability that you already know, no matter how exaggerated and powerful it seems, you will definitely fall behind a long time ago. There must be things hidden behind the scenes that are several times, or even dozens of times crazier than this. Tsunade looked at Uehara Shimei blankly. At this moment, she fully understood the reason why the other party insisted on doing this. He is worried that if he dies and becomes an undead in the future, he will be forced to join the opposite camp. In the future, there will be no way to win in the ninja world. Therefore, this responsibility and this mission can only and must be shouldered by him. He is the only and last hope of the ninja world. Actually, you don't want to die either, right? You are so lustful, so fond of enjoyment, so enjoying the feeling of being powerful and being admired by everyone. I have researched so many interesting things and gained the trust and following of so many colleagues. You are also a layman with your own true side. But the reality and situation force you to die. He has to use his own life to establish his mind for heaven and earth, establish his destiny for the people, inherit his unique knowledge for the saints, create peace for all generations, and become the so-called savior and son of destiny. If you have a choice, your biggest wish should be to find a place outside the world. Plant a few acres of peach blossoms, take a few beauties with you, pick chrysanthemums under the eastern fence, leisurely see the Nanshan Mountain, and plant beans at the foot of the Nanshan Mountain, where the grass is abundant and the bean seedlings are sparse. I have read the poems you wrote, and this is what you really yearn for. In fact, you don't want to go to the Hokage building to seize power and let yourself be stigmatized for the rest of your life. He is also unwilling to forcefully impose his ideas on others and let the entire ninja world revolve around his own will. But you have no choice. You can only do this, and you must do this, because the fate of the ninja world rests on your shoulders, because if you cannot control everything before the final battle and are not fully prepared, the end result will be the fall of the entire ninja world. The root of everything is just because you are too strong, too strong. This is the true meaning of Child of Destiny, and only in this way can we explain why Child of Destiny can affect destiny. Fate itself is indeed uncertain, but when a person is strong enough, he himself represents destiny. Tsunade collapsed. He lay on the table and cried loudly, unable to control his emotions at all, and even his voice was choked with sobs. She never expected that the whole thing would turn out like this. There are mistakes when a person is too strong. What kind of G logic is this for bandits and bastards? But the problem now is, Shimei Uehara has become so strong that if he does not break the shackles of the sky in his generation, there will never be any hope of doing so in the future. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I didn't know you were carrying such a heavy thing. If I had known earlier, even if you killed me, let alone the third generation, I would not have any complaints. Tsunade pushed away the chair, knelt on the ground, and bowed to the ground. This is also called tuxiazuo in childhood, and is generally used to express the deepest apology or sincere request. Belongs to the highest level of etiquette. Tsunade's plot is basically like this, and what follows is just the ending. Starting from the topic of Destiny Child and ending with the topic of Destiny Child, it is a complete circle. To be honest, there are some dissatisfactions. As a complete ups and downs, there should be a part of the plot in the middle to describe Tsunade's dissatisfaction, or even disgust with the protagonist having a harem. Suppress first and then raise. In this way, when the following turning point is revealed, the protagonist's trump card can be maximized to maximize the contrast between the before and after mentality, emotions, etc. But considering that this is essentially a cool article, it is not too literary and youthful. It is only briefly explained from the side using 5 years away from home. The length has also been reduced. Maybe someone has noticed that there are a lot of things that should be described but have not been explained. For example, the most important turning point of the original Tsunade, the death of the rope tree, as a comparison article, Tsunade of the ninja world did not mention it at all. You can only guess between the lines that the rope tree here is not dead, which is quite lonely in comparison. But again, many people can't read the 100,000 words at all. If it is delayed for too long, the most exciting part will be missed. The first big plot must be exciting, and at the same time it must be as short as possible. There is no way around it. What finally took shape was this article. Of course, I will try my best to spread out the things I haven't written into other people's comparison plots, and I won't leave it completely unexplained. The author is a certain Lu who has been on the list for 6 years, and is also a full-time writer of harem novels. I always believe that if you can't write a pure meaty drama, then the portrayal of emotions should be the first focus of the book. If it can convince the heart of a powerful person like Tsunade in a reasonable, smooth, and without any sense of contradiction, It will bring more satisfaction than other plots. Therefore, from system functions to the protagonist character to plot design, everything is paved and bridged for this. It will not focus too much on system rewards, pretentious slaps, and other core elements of cool writing. Each of the subsequent main heroines, namely those mentioned on the sign in the first chapter, will have their own plot lines and strategies, which will mainly depict inner changes and emotional progress. The core of ordinary Hokage fandom is cool, including the upgrade of the protagonist's strength, reputation, power, etc., as well as the intersection, enmity, battle, and killing of several key villains including F4, Black Zetsu, Uchiha, Otsutsuki, and even Sage of Six Paths, etc., all in one go. The reason has been explained in the article. As a time traveler, knowing that these things are not working, the most important thing to do is to make arrangements in advance to nip the danger in the cradle, instead of waiting for problems to occur and then shouting with grief and anger. Of course, I am not looking down on other authors and other works. There are also some that I like very much in these style books. It's just that this book is set up this way for the sake of the continuity of the heroine's plot line. This is my first time visiting your site, and I don't know if the style and writing are suitable. If you have any opinions or ideas about the follow-up plot, you can try your best to put them forward. I will try my best to make a certain degree of bias based on everyone's opinions. In addition, it will take a few days for the plot of the next heroine to start. You can also vote through paragraph comments here to see who you want to write first. 1. Uchiha Mikoto. 2. Kushina Uzumaki. 3. Hyuga Yari. 4. Terumi Mei. 5. Conan. 6. Hayakura. 7. Yuhi Kurenai. 8. Noera Rin. Counting Tsunade, who has already finished writing, there are only 9 main heroines with relevant plot lines. The protagonist will have other women, but there will no longer be a separate plot line. Regarding the plot line of the male characters, Namake's Minato may be written, but I am not sure. The rest will not be written, and will only be profiled through the perspectives of the 9 female protagonists. For example, in Tsunade's plot line, the fate of Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and even F4 has basically been explained. In short, I hope everyone will support and tolerate me. The data and results of the new book are very important. Thank you all. Aligato is so awesome. Above. Enjoy the food. Chapter 046. Tsunade's sudden collapse. Not only Uehara Shimei didn't expect it, but the countless spectators in the 2 ninja world also didn't expect it at all. He was talking nicely just now, but suddenly he burst into tears, which really shocked everyone. However, when everyone heard her true feelings revealed, almost everyone fell silent immediately. Tsunade's meaning was not difficult to understand, and they naturally understood it quickly. According to the leak theory, all your dead souls, especially powerful ninjas, will become the power behind them. In other words, as time goes by, the opponent will become stronger and stronger. Uehara Shimei, as a top powerhouse who completely surpasses the norm, is the kind of existence that can break the balance and upper limit. In a sense, at this moment, he is the only person in the ninja world who can possibly resist the Leak Reaper. On the other hand, if he does not resist, once he dies, the strength of the underworld will immediately increase significantly, completely blocking the hope of the ninja world's future comeback. This logical relationship is very simple. Almost all the audience also recognized Tsunade's judgment as soon as they reacted. And in their hearts, endless admiration and sadness suddenly emerged. Countless barrages swarmed up in an instant. Original Jiraiya, undead. It turns out that this is the true meaning of the Child of Destiny. I have been unable to understand it throughout my life. I am really a failure. Ninja World Namake's Minato. No wonder Hokage-sama said that all gifts from fate have already been secretly marked with a price. Just like Master Tsunade said, he actually doesn't want to do this, but he can only and must do it. Ninja Jiraiya. Many people actually originally dismissed things like fate and fate, thinking that it was completely nonsense. But after meeting Uehara Shimei, he was extremely convinced that he was the undoubted son of destiny, and believed that he can change the world and bring peace. It is precisely with this level of consideration and responsibility that he has gained the trust and following of so many companions. From the beginning to the end, he has been my most proud and recognized disciple and Hokage. There is no second person. Original Hatake Kakashi. Compared to the 3rd generation project, such a great figure is indeed extremely desirable. Those subordinates and companions who follow him must be very happy. Original Senju Tobarama, undead. If we follow your argument and logic, wouldn't it mean that the destiny child of our world has not yet been born? Only when a being of the same level as Uehara Shimei appears will the fateful decision come simultaneously. Ninja World Senju Tobarama, undead, but I am still very curious about the extent of Shimei Uehara's strength. Among the undead in the underworld, even figures of the level of Big Brother and Uchiha Madara are not very rare. The number of those next to them, such as Hanzo and Mito's sister-in-law, is far more than 10 times. And they are also extremely difficult to mess with. It is no joke to face so many powerful people at the same time and have no advantage in intelligence and other aspects. Countless people spoke enthusiastically on the barrage, including many who had not participated before. However, compared to the vast majority of ordinary ninjas, they only praised, respected, and admired Uehara Shimei. Some at the cutting-edge level began to discuss the possibility of the leak theory and the success rate of whether Shimei Uehara could accomplish such a feat. Even the undead, facing this kind of thing, can't stay away from it at this moment. Of course, there are other people. Because he saw the true caliber of Shimei Uehara, his mood changed drastically. The original ninja world, the underworld, Uchiha Madara was originally ambitious and confident, thinking that she was the one who could truly bring peace to the world. His expression darkened unconsciously. No matter how reluctant he was, he had to admit that Uehara Shimei was indeed completely different from others. Talent, structure, wisdom, responsibility, courage. Even though he was one of the two heroes of the Warring States period, he still looked dwarfed by them. Especially thinking about the Eye of the Moon project with an uncertain future, Uchiha Madara felt even more anxious. After a moment, he murmured to himself, "Why do I suddenly feel like a joke? If Sage of Six Paths is the mysterious Leak Reaper, can the Eye of the Moon bring peace?" Not just Uchiha Madara, as the founder of the first Hokage in the Ninja Village era, Senju Hashirama could not help but be impressed by Shimei Uehara's magnanimity. However, he does not have as many complicated thoughts and arrogance as Uchiha Madara. Instead, he took the initiative to follow everyone and acted as a fanatical believer of Uehara Shimei on the barrage, looking like he was not very smart. Tobarama was so angry that his face turned completely green. He was very active just now, but in the blink of an eye, even the figure disappeared. In the original ninja world, 5th Hokage Tsunade, looking at her other self crying on the table, for some reason, her heart was extremely touched. Logically speaking, she had no social contact with Uehara Shimei. Unlike Tsunade in the video, the two have been together for more than 10 years and have accumulated a very deep relationship. Even if Shimei Uehara is really dead, it should also be the kind of respect for great people, but it's a pity that it's more. Rather than being like now, it is an abnormal sadness and discomfort. Is it possible? Can two identical characters from the ninja world still resonate emotionally? Or maybe, through this so-called comparison video, you fell in love with Uehara Shimei just like you did? No, impossible, absolutely impossible. The moment a strange thought occurred, Tsunade's head suddenly shook to a halt. That 4th generation project, there is no denying his achievements and abilities in other areas, but in terms of feelings alone, he is a complete and utter super scumbag. 4 of them have appeared in the video alone, and according to the information in the barrage, there are at least 10 more. How could I possibly like such a scumbag? Impossible. Absolutely, absolutely impossible. Ninja World, above Konoha. Uehara Shimei listened to the system prompts in his mind, and couldn't help but curl up with a proud and excited smile. Congratulations to host. The original Ninja World Tsunade's bond has deepened. The current bond degree is 50%. The Super Immortal Human Body Development degree plus 20%, 40% stage reward. Current Immortal Human Body Development level. Super 95%. I am proud because, according to this progress, it will not be long before the other Tsunade is completely conquered. Moreover, with almost no effort, she started to rise by herself while watching the video. This is really cool, too Tsunade. Just thinking about it makes people excited. And the excitement is naturally the explosion of the human body development of the Super Immortal. There is only 5 percentage points left before it can be fully developed and start the next phase. By that time, even if Sage of Six Paths in its prime was standing in front of him, he would not need to be afraid at all. Chapter 047. So far, Uehara Shimei has obtained countless rewards from countless well-known ninjas. Even if it was the Samsara Eye, if he didn't want his eyes to turn into strange circles, he would now have at least 3 pairs. But only the shape of the eyes has not changed, and the abilities of the 3 pairs of Samsara eyes have been perfectly inherited. But even so, with so many top-notch rewards, the super immortal human body is still one of the rarest, most precious, greatest enhancements to strength, and one of the most difficult to develop abilities. The reason is simple. The in-depth development of the immortal human body has three functions that cannot be replaced by any other ability. One is the increase in lifespan. For a super fairy human body, every 1% improvement in development can increase the total lifespan by 10 years. If all development can be completed, including the extra 100 years for a 100% primary immortal body, it will be enough to live to be 1,200 years old. The huge vitality itself will also increase the legal resistance, physical resistance, health bar, recovery speed, etc. to an extremely terrifying situation. The second is the amount of chakra. As early as when the first-generation version of the immortal's human body development reached 30%, his chakra amount had completely surpassed the peak period of the first Hokage. Because his chakra not only comes from the immortal body, but also from various rewards of the system. He also naturally mastered his technique of clapping his hands and shouting whatever he wanted. He can even use the pure earth style to become a top-level Buddha whose power is not weaker than Hashirama. There are many chakras, so he is so arrogant. The strength of the super immortal human body is far from 10 times that of the basic version of the immortal human body. The gap between the essence of power and the quality of chakra is far more exaggerated than the mere disparity in quantity. If the basic immortal human body is 1 pound of tofu, then the super immortal human body is 10 pounds of steel. In addition, the super celestial body is also the level of Sage of Six Paths during the Ten Tails Jinchuriki period. This guy is also an old coin. Too little is shown in the original work, so I don't know what he is planning. At that level, the goal can never be as simple as harvesting leeks. Shimei Uehara secretly guessed. Maybe he faked his own death to get Otsutsuki to plant sacred trees in the ninja world, and then he suddenly ran out to pick peaches. In addition to lifespan and chakra mount, the last element is the permanent invulnerability of 8 gates. Yes, you read that right. The 8 gates are permanently invulnerable. After successfully obtaining the first-generation version of the immortal human body, even if it is only the most basic 10%, Uehara Shimei can already open 8 gates and not die, but the development level of the immortal human body will be reduced. When it comes to the super fairy body, even if the 8 gates are fully opened, it will only consume energy. Not only will the development level not be lost, but it will also be increased to a certain extent due to the increase in physical fitness. Shimei Uehara guessed. Once he successfully opens the ultimate immortal human body and completes the ultimate evolution, he will be able to achieve the most coveted normal 8 gates and perfect 8 gates. That is to say, the 8 gates are permanently kept fully open. Moreover, the energy will not escape casually, and the appearance is no different from normal times. The significance and importance of 8 gates to him is self-evident. Until now, this is still his strongest means of attack, no doubt about it. It far exceeds Sage Jutsu, Bloodline, Seal, Curse Seal, and the Super Bloodline Elimination Light release that has evolved into the combination of 6 attributes. In the original novel, Uchiha Madara and Might Guy's descriptions of the Gate of Death are actually inaccurate. So much so that even though many people overestimate this technique as much as possible, they still fail to see its true horror and unsolvable aspects. After Uehara Shimei succeeded in his cultivation, he soon discovered that once the Gate of Death is fully activated, it is the form in which Might Guy activated his ultimate ability Night Guy during the 4th Ninja World War. The energy of the whole body will be in a magical state that is completely different from the first 7 gates, or even the non-Yakai state of the 8th gates. He called it the plasma state. The plasma state can ignite the vitality and chakra energy, so that the quality and intensity of one's own energy are temporarily raised to another higher level, almost the chakra version of nuclear fusion. This is where 8 gates is truly powerful and is also the area most worth developing. Might Guy described his moves as blood evaporating and rubbing air to form flames, and Uchiha Madara said his attack method was to compress the air to form an air cannon. This is all superficial, a sequelae of 8 gates' lack of control. The energy intensity of the plasma state is too high. If the control is not strong enough, the surge of energy will dissipate wildly to the outside world. At the same time, out-of-control plasma energy will be converted to other lower levels. During this process, blood is flushed out of the body, which is what forms red steam and causes the blood to gasify. As for the air cannon, when high-level energy spontaneously transforms into low-level energy, its intensity decreases, but its volume increases dramatically, just like liquid water turning into water vapor. If a portion of the plasma energy is consciously controlled and released in a directional manner, it can create an impact force similar to that of high-intensity compressed air. The 8 gates require a certain level of physical strength to be opened, for the same reason. The body is not strong enough, and when it is turned on, it is directly blown up by the energy that spreads, reduces its dimension, and escapes wildly in an instant. After reaching the super level of a mortal body, Uehara Siming conducted many experiments. The plasma state is definitely superior to the bloodline network and perfect sage jutsu. It is the most efficient way to utilize chakra and reach the highest limit. At present, there is no need to add one to this sentence. If he could reach the ultimate form, a humanoid nuclear fusion reactor, destroying one Otsutsuki with one punch would not be a dream. In addition, the plasma state has a very terrifying ability. That is, it is essentially the burning of the chakra, just like firewood will catch fire when it comes into contact with fire. This burning chakra can make other surrounding energies that are lower than the plasma state and quality level lose their effect or even be assimilated. In other words, unless someone can practice 8 gates to be stronger than him, most of the techniques performed with chakra will be useless to him, especially the most mysterious space and time, which are affected the most. This is also the reason why in the original work, Might Guy can really lock the space, while Uchiha Madara has been using his body to resist and has hardly used other effective moves. Chakra is only affected when it is hit by the plasma energy. However, any spatial fluctuations within a range near the plasma energy will be completely disrupted. Cannot be locked, cannot be opened, unless you want to be crushed by the chaotic force of space. Each of the 3 reasons determined that he must put the improvement and development of the immortal body at the top priority. This is also the reason why Uehara Siming insisted on practicing physical skills by breaking the limits, and why he set up such a long and big plan for Tsunade. Chapter 048. Also, when everyone is in different moods, the video on the scroll suddenly fast-forwarded a large section. Seeing Tsunade's mental breakdown, she couldn't stop crying so much that she couldn't even speak completely. Uehara Shiming stretched out his right hand and pressed lightly on her head. The next moment, Tsunade fell on the low table in front of her and fell into a deep sleep. After this scene, time obviously sped up rapidly. In just a few seconds, the sun completely set in the sky, and then even the moon shone brightly. During this entire process, Shimei Uehara barely left her side except taking off her armor, and was always taking good care of Tsunade. It wasn't until the moon was very high that the picture returned to normal speed. Tsunade also slowly woke up at this time. Although after I woke up, I quickly thought of what happened before, and my expression and face were still very sad, but at least I didn't cry anymore. Emotions have been basically controlled. Seeing Tsunade finally wake up, Shimei Uehara turned his head and glanced, and then his figure suddenly disappeared. Almost in an instant, without even a 2-second interval, the person reappeared. Moreover, there is already a cup filled with water on his right hand. The food is ready. Let's drink some water first. Uehara ordered to put the water cup in front of Tsunade. Then, he picked up the pen and started writing and drawing on the scroll on the desk. For such a long time, he naturally didn't wait. As a Hokage, no matter how much you delegate your authority, sometimes there are things that must be dealt with. Especially now, we are in a critical period of change, and there are more things that need to be decided personally. However, Tsunade did not mean to drink water at all. After pondering for a while, his eyes suddenly changed. She is obviously a pair of big eyes full of aura, with dark brown and reddish pupils, which are also very beautiful. But at this moment, he became extremely suspicious, scanning up and down, turning in circles, just like a hungry man eyeing some delicious food. Everyone in front of the screen was stunned. While I was stunned, a strange desire to explore quietly became stronger. There's something wrong with this expression and eyes. Doesn't this be **** have any evil intentions towards Lord Hokage? Countless people suddenly widened their eyes, activated their brain healing abilities with all their strength, and the 8 trigrams fire in their hearts began to burn blazingly. Looking forward to Max. In the current ninja world, almost everyone knows that Tsunade gave birth to 5 children to Uehara Shimei and is already pregnant with her 6th child. But unlike other ladies, there are more or less traces of their emotional experiences. For example, Uchiha Mikoto, 4th generation, was initially praised as a beauty, but was talked about by many people. Only she, without any precaution, suddenly got together, suddenly got pregnant, and suddenly became inseparable. Everyone is very interested. In the original ninja world, many people who knew Tsunade Heime's explosive personality were no less curious. It is not outrageous to marry someone like Shimei Uehara, but marrying a scumbag whose relationship is so messed up that his wife can count on both hands, and not overturning his harem, living in harmony with each other for so many years, and giving birth to 6 children, this story is somewhat of a fantasy. And just as everyone expected, Tsunade first lifted up Shimei Uehara's extremely handsome god robe without warning and boldly wiped the drool that accidentally flowed out while sleeping. Then, he inadvertently approached while pretending to chat and then made a sudden movement, using his right hand as fast as lightning. He snatched the wineglass in front of Uehara Shimei. With his superb skills and control, even with such sudden movements by Yamato, the wine in the glass did not spill at all. Watching Tsunade turn the wine glass to the other side that should not have been touched by Shimei Uehara, with faces full of intoxication and enjoyment, they tasted the wine in the glass in small sips. Almost everyone in the ninja world who knew Tsunade couldn't help but look shocked. The way you looked just now, I almost thought you were going to turn into a flower-picking thief and go on a killing spree, but it ended up being just for a glass of wine. Even the original Tsunade herself felt a little embarrassed. Her eyes were actually shining just now, and she was full of anticipation. The 8G plots may have passed through her mind. Finally, that's it? Neither can you, thin dog. After drinking the wine in the glass, Tsunade's expression finally became serious. Asked intentionally but seemingly unintentionally, is Ayari giving birth soon? Have you thought about the name of the baby? The boy's name is Niji, Uehara Niji. If it's a girl, her name is Hinata, Uehara Hinata. Is this the third child already? Yes, the eldest son, Uehara Sasuke, is 3.5 years old this year, and the second son, Uehara Naruto, is 3 years old. They have reached a naughty age, which is a headache for their mother. Tsunade and Shimei Uehara chatted in vain. In the primitive ninja world, many people's expressions became strange again. Why do these people's names sound so familiar? Especially Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, and Hyuga Niji himself, their moods instantly became extremely subtle, or simply ridiculous. This Uehara Shimei was good at everything else, but he was a little too careless and immoderate in some aspects. Uchiha Mikoto, Uzumaki Kushina, and Hyuga Ayari are all their real mothers. In another world, he was actually killed by the same person. Not only Sasuke, Naruto, Niji, Hades, Uchiha, Minato Namikaze, and Hyuga Hisashi felt even more uncomfortable. Even though it's not the same world at all, just the same name, why do I always feel that the color on my head is a bit brighter? Turning back to the video, Shimei Uehara answered several boring questions from Tsunade. The voice suddenly stopped. He had clearly sensed Tsunade's inner struggle. I obviously wanted to agree, but due to some knots or concerns, I was always looking for reasons for myself. Uehara Shimei turned his head, looked at Tsunade, who was blushing inexplicably with a strange look, and said, "Tsunade, do you know what is the biggest difference between me and others? Talent. I don't know how you do it. You can even improve and learn other people's blood inheritance secret techniques. This is so foul. No? That's wisdom. You're only 7 years old, and you can look at problems from that perspective. I've never seen anyone more evil than you. Courage and courage? The person chosen by fate? Not yet? What is that?" Tsunade replied with several answers one after another, but the people next to her always shook their heads. For a moment, Tsunade racked her brains and couldn't come up with anything. Uehara Shimei smiled slightly and said calmly, "It's because I knew from the beginning what I really wanted most. It is precisely because of this that we have the awareness that, except for the most important things, everything else is a necessary price, and there is no need to care too much. I believe that the same doubts exist not only in you, but also in the hearts of many people, even those who respect and admire me very much. Is this guy really shameless? Doesn't he even want the slightest bit? He obviously had a passionate fight with Kushina, showing off his affection every day, but the next day he was dating Uchiha for Mikoto. There were already Mikoto and Kushina, and they accepted Ayari without any grudges as if nothing happened. Isn't he afraid of being criticized by others? Isn't he afraid of being criticized by thousands of people and cast aside by everyone? I can answer you clearly now. I am really not afraid. Including killing the third generation project in everything I do, I start to take action or plan only after I have thought clearly about the consequences of doing so and determined that I can bear the cost. When I get what I really want most, everything else can be regarded as passing smoke and allowed to drift away in the wind." Chapter 049. The most precious thing you really want, and the unnecessary price you have to pay? What is the most precious thing I really want? Listening to Uehara Shimei's voice, Tsunade also muttered to herself. At this moment, she couldn't help but recall this boy's usual style of doing things. Keep your word and move forward courageously. There are many things that other people need to be extremely cautious about, or even avoid completely, but he doesn't show even the slightest bit of awe in them. Just do it as soon as you say it. Even Orochimaru, in most cases, could not be as decisive as him in dealing with the same matter. For example, the third generation project, who could have thought that this guy, when he was unhappy, would actually rush into the office and cut off the other person's head. This is the shadow of a village, representing and involving too many things. The source of the Third Ninja World War was the disappearance of the third-generation Kazekage of Sand Village. Tsunade thought about it, and for some reason, her expression suddenly turned very unfriendly. So, the nonsense you said in class at school when you were 7 years old was actually your dream? I think I've always said that, right? Tsunade. After a moment, Tsunade asked again. If that's the case, then why are you so dedicated to governing Konoha and pacifying the ninja world, even at the cost of? Uehara Siming shook his head, interrupting the second half of the sentence she was about to say. You are still shallow. People in the world always have a prejudice that is so simple that it is ridiculous, thinking that a good person should be good at everything, and that nothing in his actions or his heart should be flawless. If he did anything bad that was not in line with his reputation, his image would immediately collapse and people would suspect he had ulterior motives and that everything he did before was just a disguise. Bad people are bad in everything, and no matter what the matter is, they will first explore and view it from the perspective of conspiracy theory. Just like the second-generation Uchiha who keeps his mouth open and mouth full of evil, it has even become a catchphrase. That is to say, he is not married. Otherwise, I doubt that if he finds out that his wife is pregnant one day, he will habitually say the evil Uchiha first. Reality is not fiction, and people are complicated. I never said I wanted to be a complete saint, but I never gave up my duty as a savior. When doing things, always adhere to one simple principle, that is, no regrets and no regrets. A girl with a kind heart, gentle personality, gentle temperament, and beautiful appearance, who is as perfect as a goddess in dreams. If I just stand by and watch her jump into the fire pit because I am concerned about what others say, I will definitely regret it in the future. So I did it. It was that simple. I'll tell you a secret. I didn't plan to take action against the third generation so early. But he actually wanted to separate Kushina and I because of Mikoto, and even let that old dog Danzo run wild. How can we tolerate this? Damn it. If he lives one more second, Lousy will no longer be called Uehara. The lust for power was the only reason I killed him, not the reason I killed him at that time. Tsunade's expression became extremely strange. I subconsciously picked up the wine glass and wanted to take a sip, but found that it was completely empty. I could only put it back on the table in embarrassment. She really didn't expect that the Hokage, a great ninja, died because he was trying to stop this guy from picking up girls. It's somewhat ridiculous. Uehara Siming ignored Tsunade, who was in great shock. His body flashed, and when he came back, he already had a green wine flask filled with fine wine in his hand. The amber liquid slowly flows out of the spout. Uehara Shimei deliberately aimed at the lip print left by Tsunade on the wine glass, and then made a burst of sounds that were almost as enjoyable and intoxicating as Tsunade's previous drinking. Look at your potential. Tsunade rolled her eyes angrily. I wanted to turn my head away from this eye-catching scene, but in the end I couldn't resist the temptation of Uehara brand flower wine, and swallowed my saliva in frustration. I don't know how this guy did it, but he even has excellent winemaking skills. He actually came up with the idea of using flowers to make wine. The wines produced from different flowers have completely different effects and flavors. She searched all over the ninja world and couldn't even find one with a similar texture and taste. Nothing to show for it? Hearing Tsunade's angry voice, Shimei Uehara's lips immediately filled with joy. Sometimes, don't go too far and worship the goddess as a real god. When appropriate, you can make some jokes that are a little too much but not too much. At this time, if she doesn't object strongly, she can make some more jokes that are a little more extreme than before. Someone didn't even have the slightest hesitation. As soon as the hungry tiger pounced on its food, the stunned Tsunade was thrown directly onto the Hokage rock. He stuck out his tongue unceremoniously and without restraint. After a long while, he gasped and parted his lips. With an expression like, "Little girl, what are you doing? You should be punished for talking nonsense," and proudly asked Tsunade, "Is there any future now?" Uehara Shimei originally thought that even if Tsunade was not furious, she would run away no matter how bad things happened. I never expected that this time. I didn't even have the intention to get up. He just turned his head away with a blushing face and said in an arrogant voice, "Still not, coward." As soon as these words came out, even Uehara Shimei couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. The next second, An ecstatic smile covered his entire expression. Oh shit, if you don't figure this out, Lousy won't be named Uehara anymore. At this moment, Tsunade was still under him. With just a gentle embrace of his arms, the whole person was completely in his arms. In the next second, both of them disappeared. Only two tables that were pushed crookedly by the collision remained in the video. The flow of time speeds up again, in the sky behind. I don't know whether the dark clouds covered the moon's eyes, or the moon shyly hid behind the dark clouds. In short, the scene fell into darkness. Someone's sudden action made the disappointed audience who had seen Tsunade just grab a glass of wine suddenly become extremely excited. The scroll was swept up by countless excited viewers in an instant. Where's the back? Where's the back? Where's the back? I want to complain. Why was the most exciting part one just saw cut out of context? We want to see the back. Do you have the ability to show the picture below? Chapter 050. After Tsunade and Uehara Shimei succeeded, the progress of the video obviously accelerated. Just as soon as the screen flashed, I came to a clean ward with white walls, white beds, white clothes, white floors, and white furniture. Almost everything was filled with snow white. In the corner of the screen, Tsunade was struggling with anger on her face. She seemed to be planning to get up and leave the hospital directly, but she was suppressed by the 4 nurses who were already prepared. In the center, an intellectual female doctor wearing a white coat holds a crying baby whose limbs are constantly moving. The voice reported in surprise. Congratulations to Master Hokage. Congratulations to Master Tsunade. You are a lively young master. The screen flashed again. Tsunade was still struggling on the hospital bed. It was also the intellectual female doctor in a white coat, holding a quiet baby with bright eyes in her arms. The voice reported in surprise. Congratulations, Hokage-sama. Congratulations, Tsunade-sama. You are a lovely little princess. The screen flashed again. Tsunade accepted her fate this time and did not struggle too much. But he was obviously in the hospital. But he was crossing his legs and shouting, looking like an uncle, and he was more energetic than the doctors and nurses. Noera Rin also put on a white coat. Her eyes were very focused, and she was holding the baby carefully. He said with a slightly unskilled gentleness, Congratulations to Mr. Hokage, congratulations to Mr. Tsunade, and congratulations to Mr. Maki. Your mother has given birth to a younger brother. He weighs 8 pounds and 6 tails. He is very healthy. No birth defects or adverse diseases have been found. Seeing such 3 consecutive pictures, everyone in front of the screen was stunned for a while. Including the current ninja world, there are many people who have known about these things for a long time, and even often talk about them in private as a topic of conversation after dinner. The mood is very inexplicable. I don't know why, but the 4th Hokage seems to be particularly serious, persistent, and enthusiastic about having children. Tsunade is not an exception. Almost every lady has given birth to more than one child. She is not even the most numerous. She can only be regarded as the 2nd most numerous, still tied with others. And after seeing Tsunade giving birth to 3 children one after another and being caught on video 3 times, the barrage instantly became lively. Complaints, envy, shock, especially the old Senju clan members who had previously learned that Senju was almost extinct were all extremely active and excited, praising Shimei Uehara's behavior. Many of these people come from the Warring States period. In that era, the family was used as a military unit and as a reserve source of troops, and having children was the top priority for the family. Like 1st Hokage, there are 4 brothers. In addition to Hashirama and Tobirama, there are also Banma and Uema. For them, after death and becoming undead, many things have no meaning. The only thing that can be focused on is probably the happiness of the remaining descendants and the continuation of the family. In almost an instant, the barrage space was occupied by several Senju experts. Ninja World Senju Buddha Room, Dead Soul, not bad, good job. Try to keep up the good work, Tsunade. It's up to you to make our Senju clan stronger again. Ninja World Senju Hashirama, undead. The rope tree in our world is not dead. So is he married? Has he given birth to any children? How many have he given birth to now? Ninja World Senju Tobirama, undead. I heard that my 2nd daughter has awakened my eldest brothers with style. Do you have any plans to get married and have children now? Original Senju Buddha Room, Dead Soul, Tsunade. Look at Tsunade from another world. She is already in her 50s now. What are you waiting for? The childbearing period will be over soon. Original Senju Hashirama, undead, Tsunade-chan. Do you have someone you like? Isn't it that no one is interested in you? Original Senju Tobirama, undead. The Senju clan in our world is much worse than them. You are the only one left. Tsunade, what are you waiting for now? Original Ninja World. Tsunade, who was guarding outside the root base and waiting for the comparison video to end. I originally wanted to speak and complain a bit. After seeing countless Senju antiques urging marriage on the barrage, my forehead was suddenly covered with black lines. A violent urge to hit brewed in his muscles. However, there was also a hint of shame and embarrassment in my heart. The Senju clan is the only one left, and he is still unmarried in his 50s, wandering the ninja world alone, drunk and dreaming. This is indeed a bit unjustifiable. Not only the Senju clan, but also the old antiques from other families came out to pay attention to the marriages of their descendants. After all, according to the previous exchanges in the barrage, everyone already knows that many ancient families, including Senju Hyuga Uchiha, have been badly affected by F4. In an instant, the trend of public opinion in the barrage changed drastically, and urging marriage became the latest trend in trend. However, when these people are taking turns urging marriage, the video in the scroll finally ushered in the only important life node worth watching in Tsunade's later period in the ninja world. Selection of the 7 ninja sect under the king. First, there are 4 large golden characters in a familiar style. Background introduction. Currently the 55th year of Konoha in the ninja world, the 4th Hokage of Konoha Ninja Village, Uehara Shimei's eldest son, Uehara Sasuke, and his second son, Uehara Naruto, successfully graduated from Konoha Ninja School early at the age of 9, both setting a new minimum age for graduation after the ninja school was restructured. Moreover, with an absolute advantage, he stood out among previous geniuses and other ninjas with special talents, and was selected into the first batch of students of the newly established Advanced Ninja School. He became a famous genius both inside and outside, attracting the attention of the entire ninja world. Because of Shimei Uehara's personal prestige, his promise to provide additional guidance and rewards to senior ninja school teachers, and the enrollment of the Hokage's eldest son and second son. The selection of the 7 official teachers of the Advanced Ninja School has become the focus of attention from Konoha and even the entire ninja world. It lasted a total of 19 days and experienced more than 300 fierce battles. The strongest person was determined in 7 categories: ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, instant technique, sealing techniques, medical technique, and perception technique, and was awarded the corresponding codename because all the selected candidates have Kaga level strength, and some have power beyond Kaga level. They were later called the 7 Ninja Sect under the king by the ninja world. First generation king's 7 Ninja Sect. Ninja Orochimaru, fantasy character Uchiha Fugaku, body. Character Matt Dai, instant character Namikaze Minato, seal character Uzumaki Kushina, medical character Senju Tsunade, sense character Uzumaki Kana. The members of the 7 Ninja Sect under the king have gone through several changes. The current member list is Ninja Hatake Kakashi, fantasy character Uchiha Shursui, body character Metkai, instant character Namikaze Minato, sealing character Uzumaki Kushina, medical character Senju Tsunade, sense character Uehara and Naruto. Minato Namikaze and Tsunade Senju are the only 2 former members of the 7 Ninja Sect who have never lost their codenames.